I now declare the February ordinary meeting of Council open at 6:30 p.m. and welcome all of those in attendance. Can I have your attention, please? And I welcome all those in attendance. I now invite Councillor Wheatland to read the acknowledgement to country.
Thank you. The City of Melville acknowledges the Bibbulmun people as the traditional custodians of the land on which the city stands today and pays its respect to the Whadjuk people and elders, both past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatland. I draw your attention to the disclaimer on the screen. The affirmation of civic duty and responsibility on the screen. The advice of audio-visual live streaming and recording on the screen. Thank you. Now, to assist me with the smooth running of our meeting, if you plan on asking a question during public question time and you haven't already submitted a question to us in writing, it would be appreciated if you could complete a question time form found on the table to your left and hand it in to an officer prior to the commencement of question time. Item 2, attendance and apologies. Councillor Woodall is providing an apology for this evening and Councillor Lim will be a late arrival. Item 3, declarations by members. We now move into declarations by members. Are there any declarations by members who have not read and given due consideration to all matters contained in the business papers presented before the meeting? Nil. I declare, declarations by members who have received and not read the elected members' bulletin. That is nil. Item 4, announcements by the presiding member. Approved deputations. No deputations have been approved for tonight's meeting. Approved written submissions. No written submissions have been received for tonight's meeting. Item 5, disclosure of interest. Can the Head of Governance please advise if there are any disclosures of interest for this evening? Ms Newman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, no disclosures have been received. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further disclosures from elected members? If there are no further disclosures, we'll move on to public question time. So item 6, public question time. I now open a public question time at 6:33 p.m. Now, a number of questions have been received for this evening, and if we have the question asker here in the meeting or have a representative to ask the question, could you please make your way to the microphone to ask your question when called? If there is no one in the audience to ask the question and the question is not taken on notice, the question and response will be provided in the minutes, which will be available to the public on Friday, 20th of February. Tonight, the questions are from Dr. Stevens of Bicton, Mr. Stanisławski of Atterdale, Mr. Wheeland of Bicton, Mr. Fitzgibbon of Melville, Mr. Morley on behalf of Miss Amanda Douglas of Willagee, Mr. Morley of Willagee and Mr. War of Bull Creek. Now, we'll start off with Dr. Stevens of Bicton. Please come forward and ask your question. Is he here this evening? I don't see him coming forward. So, did he give you permission to ask those questions on his behalf? It is in fact supposed to be in writing, giving permission. Okay. Yes, we will respond to them in
Madam
minutes.
Mayor, we can't from the floor suggest that it happens for Mr Ward to read, can we?
It's covered by meeting procedures. We're guided by meeting procedures. Pardon? Mr. Sadowski, without a doubt. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Oh, good. So I'm a resident of Attadale. I'm seeking clarification on the city's official governance policies regarding administrative impartiality and the integrity of the statutory consultation process. These questions go to the heart of public confidence in the city's delegated planning functions. So I've got two questions. The first being, in instances where a retrospective development application triggers a statutory requirement for neighbour consultation under the R codes, does the city have a policy that permits delegated officers to provide an applicant with written assurances of a positive outcome, offer fee waivers or an expedited processing timeframe prior to the commencement of that required consultation?
Thank you. Would you like to read your next question as well too, please?
Sure, yep. Where a material error has been identified in the city's own building or planning processes, what independent oversight or internal audit mechanisms exist to ensure that the subsequent remedial application is assessed with total impartiality rather than being determined by the same department responsible for the original error?
Mr. Varelis, Director of Planning, could you please respond?
Through the Chair, thank you for your question, Mr. Siskowski. In relation to the first question, the City does not have a policy that permits officers to predetermine the outcome of a development application or to provide assurances of approval prior to the completion of any required statutory processes, including neighbour consultation under the residential design codes. Where statutory consultation is required, all submissions are considered on their merits before any determination is made. Any administrative actions taken in relation to fees or timeframes are managed in accordance with the City's fees and charges and customer service practices and do not influence, predetermine or replace the statutory assessment of an application. In relation to the second question, where an error is identified in the City's building or planning processes, the City has established governance measures to ensure continued impartiality and integrity in decision making. These include internal reviews, senior officer oversight, legal and governance involvement where appropriate, and clear separation between operational assessment and governance assurance functions. All development applications are assessed against the relevant planning framework and legislation by suitably qualified officers acting under delegated authority and in accordance with the City's Code of Conduct, regardless of any prior administrative issues. Council is not the decision maker for individual housing developments or compliance matters. Its role is to ensure that appropriate governance frameworks, policies and delegations are in place to support lawful, impartial and transparent administration.
Am I allowed a follow-up clarification question?
A follow-up question? Yes, what would your question be?
Yeah, just for clarity, thank you for that. So just for clarity, if a team makes a material error on an application, that same team could subsequently approve an application without any independent oversight or input?
Mr. Varelis?
Through the Chair, as referenced in my answer, there are multiple officers at the City with delegation to determine applications, and where errors have been identified, appropriate measures are put in place to ensure that there are checks and balances on any retrospective approvals that are put forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're moving on to Mr. Whelan of Bicton. Would Mr. Whelan be here? No, the answers to his questions will be recorded in the minutes. Mr. Fitzgibbons of Melville. He doesn't appear to be here. Again, the response to his questions will be in the minutes. Mr. Morley, on behalf of Ms Douglas of Willagee, please come forward.
Well, good evening, everybody. Well, everybody watching on the live stream. Lovely to be with you again. Drayton Morley here, resident of Willagee. I've been asked by a co-resident of Willagee, actually, to share a question with Council tonight. And her question is this. Her name is Amanda Douglas. Could you explain why the Melville City Council plant giveaway shifted from first come, first served to a lottery system? I've been trying to establish a native garden, and even though I registered right away, I missed out on the free plants this year. I'm hoping to understand the reasoning behind the change and if the process might be refined in the future to support residents like me.
Thank you, Mr Morley. Mr Coton, Director of Environment and Infrastructure, can you respond, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. The city has got a set budget for our free native plant giveaway, and the lottery system was introduced in an effort to make it more equitable. Previous methods allowed those individuals who were first at the pickup point to obtain a high percentage of the available stock, and that limited accessibility to the broader community. So the lottery system gives everyone interested in the free native plant giveaway equal opportunity to participate.
Follow-up question, Madam Mayor, if you don't mind.
Yes, Mr Morley.
Is there the situation that exists at the moment, the lottery system is still in place? Is that the status quo?
Mr Coton?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, and final question, a follow-up. Is there any intention of changing that policy in the near future at all, back to the original that it used to be?
Mr Coton?
I'm not aware of anything, but I will take it on notice and check with staff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr Morley, while you are there, you have an opportunity to ask your own questions.
Oh, thank you. Holding the fort here. Okay. My question tonight to Council is in relation to the Western Australian Government's recent release of its urban greening strategy, which has a target of 30% of canopy, and also its Let's Grow action plan, which is in association with the urban greening strategy. My understanding is that there is an integration between Council and Western Australian State Government in that urban greening strategy. My question is, it'd be great to hear how Melville plans to fit into that picture, Melville City Council that is. Specifically, which bits of Let's Grow, the Let's Grow action plan, might we rally behind here in Melville? And on a practical note, I'd love to understand what kind of support, financial or otherwise, that the city can offer community groups to boost urban canopy in the city of Melville.
Thank you. Mr Coton, Director of Environment and Infrastructure, can you respond, please?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. The city supports the objectives of the WA Government Urban Greening Strategy and Let's Grow Action Plan, and will continue to be members of the WALGA Urban Forest Working Group, collecting tree data and work with researchers as outlined in the action plan. And we will be looking into the State Government Let's Grow grants program to assess the opportunities that it provides for community groups to increase our urban forest.
Follow-up question, if you don't mind, Madam Mayor. Is there an intention from the city to appoint a liaison officer as detailed in the Urban Greening Strategy and Let's Grow program by the City of Melville?
Mr Coton?
The details, we haven't assessed the details fully as yet, so I can provide some further information. I'll take that on notice.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Everyone.
Mr Morley.
Thank you for your time.
Mr Waugh of Bull Creek.
Good evening, one and all. Here is a 10-year-old picture of a mayor presenting to an international dignitary in the memorial garden not mentioned in E2687. This single example alone shows the inadequacy of the city's records and capability shortcomings in providing advice to council. What is influenced councillors and council practice to determine against its community by functioning excluding community from advisory and deliberation processes to persistently rubber stamp employment sustaining policy, individual obstruction to facilitating informed community merit-based decision-making.
Mr Yildiz, Director, Legal, Governance and Risk.
Point of order.
You haven't finished?
Chair. No, I'm not finished.
Oh.
Also, these are questions for council, not for the administration, and I'm happy for you to take them on notice.
Yes, we'll take those ones on notice. Thank you.
Question 2. ABF response to E2687 quoted, "The city is currently developing a comprehensive policy framework," etc. The question, why was this major ratepayer-funded initiative or its cost, risk, benefit analysis not published in the annual report as is required by legislation? Particularly as it was a reinvention of the wheel, both in replication of the city's recent governance framework and in recreating a policy framework that council has had in its possession since 2021. Question 3. Here are the extracts from Local Government Act that confirm the city non-compliances. It recently took the city 2 years to rewrite its own enforcement policy, an unpublished time to produce its own employee-focused governance framework. It applies a number of totally unauthorised policies. It is here proposing the adoption of an incomplete policy. All the while, the city has had a draft policy framework in its possession since 2021, and during that time, the city has not documented a single 5.412C administrative procedure. Question 3. With so much published evidence of substandard administrative practice.
Sorry, did you make a adverse reflection on the officers? Because I'll have to ask you to withdraw that.
No, I haven't. I have not mentioned the officers at all.
You said administration.
Administrative practice, I said.
Yes, well, that's still
not
denigrating officers.
That's not the officers.
Who is
the
it
practice.
then?
No, that's the practice, not
But
the
who's
officers.
practising?
May I continue?
If you can delete your statements that are derogatory. Yes.
I've not put any derogatory statements in here. There's nothing that's derogatory in here.
Press ahead, please.
With so much published evidence, lost my place. Sorry, I've lost my place. I'll leave that one, come back to it. Now approaching 60, the list of non-compliance examples recently tabled at Council continues to grow. How does Council expect its community to view the local government as anything more than growing increasingly dysfunctional when the city
Well, that's derogatory. I'd have to pull you up on that, Mr Ward. That is derogatory. That is derogatory and I'm not going to accept it.
I am finished. If you don't accept it, then I will just publish it publicly. Thank you.
We don't accept derogatory statements about this council, officers or elected members. And I think you know that. I think there's been enough communication for you to understand that. You can communicate to us in a respectful manner. And that is perfectly okay. We're happy to work with you on that basis.
This is very respectful. It is not derogatory of anybody. It has been
In your
specifically
opinion.
written, so it would not be derogatory of anyone.
Madam Mayor.
It is of the systems and not of the people.
Thank you, Mr Ward.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Mr Yildiz,
Madam
Director,
Mayor.
Legal Governance and Risk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr Ward, for your questions. In relation to the policy framework is not a requirement under the legislation, but it's a good governance practice to guide council's decision-making and the process around approval of policy. I note that certain policies do require advertising, and as part of a councillor's role, if the community has a particular view, it's quite clear in section 2 of the policy that councillors do articulate that view as part of the decision-making process, and we obviously welcome that as to determine the best policies for the district. In relation to your questions about non-compliance, whilst that is your opinion, we have no evidence of non-compliance. The Act is very specific in its wording, and where the Act is not specific or does not provide a clear requirement, it does leave it open for the best judgment and best judgment practices and good governance judgment to determine what's most appropriate for the City of Melville to determine as their practices. Whilst if you are able to point out particular sections where the City is non-compliant, I'm more than happy to have a discussion with you in relation to that.
Madam Mayor, can I ask you a question?
It's public question time.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just wondering if it can possibly, if you say to Mr Ward, like you can have an opportunity to re-ask your question, the one that he was unable to finish, if he were to use, proper wording. Is that a possibility, please?
Well, I think at this stage he has probably finished his question. I'm not sure he's got his microphone on, so I'm yet to find out. Mr Ward, you have your microphone on. Did you have a further question?
No, I wanted to respond to Mr Yildiz. While he says it is my opinion, that in itself is derogatory, and in return, it is only his opinion that what I say is not listing non-compliances.
Look, I think that's your opinion, and thank you very much.
We're
we
all
don't really
facing
need
opinions here.
we don't
Thank you.
need a debate across the table. Thank you. Put it in writing. Thank you, Councillor Wheatland.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, just in relation to when Mr Wall was giving asking his questions, he was waving around bits of paper, and that was in relation to the council questions. I was wondering if we could see what was on those bits of paper.
Mr Wall, would you be happy to distribute those?
I will be leaving it with the City as I go.
Thank you very much. We've finished the questioners, the list of questioners. Are there any further questions from the gallery? If there are no further questions, I declare question time over at 6:52 p.m. Moving on to item 7, awards and presentations. There are no awards or presentations for this evening. Item 8, applications for new leave of absence. Councillor Ross has submitted a leave of absence request for approximately 2 weeks in March and April 2026. Are there any further requests for leave of absence? If there are no further questions, I need a mover and seconder. Thank you very much. Councillor Wheatland, seconded. Councillor Barber, any voice to the contrary? Anyone against? That is carried. Moving on to item 9, confirmation of minutes. 9.1, ordinary meeting of council, 9th of December 2025. Can I please have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Spanbrook, seconded Councillor Hong. Is there anyone against? If no one is against, I declare it carried. No, that's the ordinary meeting of council. The annual general meeting of electors. I need a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Barber, seconded Councillor Green. Is there anyone against? I declare that carried. Item 9.3, ordinary meeting of the Governance Committee, 9th of February. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Do we have a mover and seconder of the Governance Committee? No. No, you probably have are across it by reading the minutes. Okay, thank you, Councillor Wheatland. Seconded, Councillor Barber. Pardon? Yes, you can. Yes. Is there anyone against? I declare it carried. 9.4, notes of the agenda briefing forum, 10th of February. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Anybody? Okay, Councillor Ross, Councillor York. Is there anyone against? No one against. I declare it carried. Item 10, new business of an urgent nature. There is no business of an urgent nature. So item 11, identification of matters for which meeting may be closed. The following items have been identified as having confidential attachments. C26 359 RFT 252622, supply of tree maintenance, and E2688 RFT 252611, supply of plumbing services, and E2689 RFT 252617 Supply of Electrical Maintenance Services, and UP 26100 Recruitment and Selection Report, City of Melville Design Review Group. Should any elected member wish to discuss the confidential attachments, the item will be held until the end of the meeting, and I'll call for a motion to go behind closed doors. So can I get an indication from elected members if there are any questions in relation to the attachments for these items? Thank you. We'll deal with those items as they come up on the agenda. Item 12, petitions. A petition signed by 126 residents was received by the City on Monday, the 5th of January, in relation to DAP 2025 53436 St Michael's Terrace, Mount Pleasant. So 12.1, receipt of that petition. Can we have a mover and seconder for the officer's recommendation?
Madam Mayor, can I make an amendment to that officer's recommendation?
We need to have the officer's recommendation on the table first, and there is limitations as to what you can move during that time. Okay, so can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Ross moved, and Councillor Wheatland seconded. Councillor Barber, what would your amendment be?
Well, the officer recommendation is that the council acknowledge the petition and take no further action. But I just think, I know the city officers worked really hard, and we had a successful outcome after a very positive application at the DAP. And I think that for the sake of the minutes, it would look better that we didn't take no further action on this petition. We actually worked really hard. And so something to the effect of, we'll take no further action due to the city receiving a successful outcome at the DAP, something like that.
Ms Newman will explain the meeting procedures, local law.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. On presentation of a petition, the council can acknowledge the petition, give due consideration to the petition when deliberating on the same agenda, refer it to a committee for consideration, or direct a report be prepared by a determined date, or take no further action. Under meeting procedures, there's only 4 options in that space. Thank you.
So we are limited. I understand what you're saying, but I think the petitioners probably know already there was a very positive outcome. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone against this motion? If there is no one against the motion, I declare it carried. Item 13, adoption of recommendations en bloc. We now move to en bloc items for this evening. The following items have been recommended to be carried en bloc. M2663, Common Seal, January 2026. C26356, Investment Statements for December 2025. C26357, Schedule of Accounts Paid for December 2025. C26358, Statements of Financial Activity for December 2025. C26360, Investment Statements for November 2025. C26361, Schedule of Accounts Paid for November 2025. Can I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation, please? Councillor Ross moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wheatland. Is there anyone against? I declare it carried. Item 14. We now move on to items for this evening. The first item is M2664, City of Melville Annual Report for 2024-2025 Corrections. We need an absolute majority for this item, so can I have a mover and seconder for the officer's recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Robbins, seconded Councillor Ross. Is there anyone against? I declare it carried. Item M2667, response to the Annual General Meeting of Electors 2026. Motion's carried. Prior to tabling the officer's recommendation, I would like to advise the council that we will be considering each motion individually. I also advise that Councillor Barber has submitted a number of amendments to some of the motions which has been distributed to elected members earlier today. These will be considered in order of each motion. The first item is AGME Motion 1. Can I have a mover and seconder for the first officer recommendation? Are there any? Councillor Robbins. A seconder, please. Councillor Wheatland. Is there anyone against?
Oh, do I get to do my amendments, Madam Mayor?
Sorry. There was no amendment on item number 1, Councillor Barber. We didn't receive one.
I sent something electronically that had amendments for all of them.
Not for item 1, apparently.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay. So, so we have the item, the motion number 1, if you just cast your eye over that. And is there anyone against? You are.
I would like to make an amendment to that.
You want to make an amendment? Okay, thank you. Councillor Spanbrook, what is your amendment,
I would
please?
just like to change out the word acknowledges to notes, as to acknowledge something that is in the foreseeable future, foreseeable risk due to, is preempting something, whereas we haven't got measurable data at that foreseeable time. So I think it should be notes.
Do you have a seconder? It appears it lapses through lack of a seconder.
Madam Mayor, can I just ask for an explanation as to why? Look, I want to explain why I didn't back it, because this is purely to acknowledge the motions that the electors moved at the meeting.
Okay, well, rather than debate anything at this point, it has lapsed, and we're now moving on to item 2, motion 2. Oh, no, we need, well, apparently we need to get the officer's recommendation on the table first. Can we please have a mover and seconder for the officer's recommendation? Oh. Yes, okay, thank you. We actually have to vote on the motion now because your amendment lapsed. We're now voting on the motion item 1 because we have the officer's recommendation on the table. All right, we are now voting on item motion 1 as is. So green is for the motion as is, red is against. That is carried 9-1. We're now moving on to item motion 2. We need to have a mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Councillor Robbins, and seconded. Councillor Green. Okay, now Councillor Barber has an amendment. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak to that now?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to speak to the amendment. I just think that motion 2 could get lost in the officer's recommendation that it'll just be addressed in LPS 6. I don't think we've given enough due credit in the officer response. This is a very passionate project for our residents, and I believe that, yes, it will be still looked at in LPS 6. However, we're just giving further guidelines, I believe, with the intent of the motion from the annual general meeting of electors, and just asking that within the scope of LPS 6 that these things are addressed, directly addressed. And so that's why I just thought we needed to get a bit more rigour and clarity with this amendment. I hope you all support it.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Wheatland? Councillor Barber, do you wish to say anything further?
No, I hope you support this amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Wheatland?
No, I'm happy to second it. I just want to concur the level of engagement and community sentiment, or not sentiment, passion around this at the AGM electors meeting, and also since the LPS 6 review started last year, reflects the need for this amendment. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatland. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Spanbrook?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm actually against the first one, changing out the officer recommendation of the word notes that has been now replaced with acknowledge. And the reason for that, and I think I'll read it out, it's probably the best way to do it, that the word acknowledges has a meaning of accepting or recognising. The implication can also be misconstrued as agreeing. It's the same as when we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that is read out before every meeting. There is an acknowledgement, accepting, recognising and even agreeing. So therefore I'm using this as an example which is very clear. So it is in a proper functioning local government, officers should not automatically acknowledge a motion without an investigation, professional advice. It can also be misconstrued by preempting the outcome. So some form of analysis or even seeking evidence. This is good governance. So that's why I'm opposing the change out of words from note to acknowledge. It should be note. So that's where I'm coming from, and I oppose it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spanbrook. Is there another speaker against the amendment? If there's not, I'll get Councillor Green. First of all, I'll take a speaker for. Councillor... Councillor Green, you actually are the mover of the officer's motion, so I can't take you as a speaker against. Yeah, but the amendment... Oh, I see what you mean. We're on... Yes, sorry, we are on the amendment. Yes, you can speak, but I need to take a speaker for first. A speaker for? I'll take one more against. Oh, you're speaking for? Councillor Papiotu.
Panayiotou.
Panayiotou.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to speak for, if we look at Canning Highway and the issues that we currently face, there's significant constraints and I guess...
Apologies there, George. It's only number 1 that I'm actually opposing.
Look, he's actually having a debate on the whole amendment. So we're listening to his debate, not just on what you've said, okay? Councillor, please continue.
May I continue? Thank you. Yeah, speaking for it, there's still a lot of work to do with regards to constraints on Canning Highway. Hence, I want to support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I'm pleased that we're dealing with Councillor Barber's amendment on a motion-by-motion basis. With this one, I'd firstly like to congratulate the electors that attended the electors meeting and put forward some very strong arguments and brought also some new ideas. Perhaps on this motion we're talking about something that's been spoken about before. But the arguments are, I think, across the board acknowledged by the council, certainly are by me. The reason I'm speaking against this is just that I think everything that was in the motion has been addressed in the officer recommendation. So I don't believe that this amendment is needed. I just think it has the potential to muddy the waters. I think all of the concerns have and certainly will be have been noted already and will continue to be considered as we follow through with the LPS 6 review process. I just think that they can and will be considered through that process, which we are following already. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Are there further speakers against? I'm trying to balance the debate. I just need to know. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the seconder, which is Councillor Whitland. Oh, you already spoke, sorry. So we won't go to Councillor Whitland. If there's no further debate, I'm going to go back to Councillor Barber to wrap up the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just the debate between acknowledge and note. I think that I wanted the word acknowledge because acknowledge is more like we recognise. And I think in this point in time, and I'm sure the officers would agree, I can't speak for them, but the council, I would like us as a council to recognise the concerns and acknowledge these concerns, not just note the concerns. I agree with Councillor Green. These electors were brave. They came along to the AGM. They spoke eloquently, intelligently, and we definitely need to acknowledge them. I believe this amendment adds, rather than muddying the waters of LPS 6, I believe this amendment adds clarity, and clarity that will, not just will be discussed in the process, but with this clarity, I think we're hoping that it will be discussed in the process, not can. And so for those reasons, that the muddy waters will be clear, that these items will be directly addressed are very important. And so I hope that you will support this amendment.
Okay, we're going to go to the vote on the amendment, Councillor Barber's amendment, which is before you. So Green is supporting the amendment to the officer's recommendation. Red is not supporting it, going against it. The amendment is carried 6-4.
I'd like to move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Robbins.
Thank you. I'd like to add the following words to the end of part 2. At least until such time as the state government addresses traffic congestion on Canning Highway.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Spanbrook. Do you wish to speak to your amendment?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I was sort of on the fence with this amendment, mainly because of Part B and how it says introduce proposals to limit increases in density along or feed into Canning Highway. My general experience hearing from people about density in suburbs like Applecross and Mount Pleasant is that most people say that the main reason they're opposed to more density is because the road network can't handle it. And there were multiple articles in the local papers last week about traffic on Canning Highway, and I'm sure we've all experienced it. And the pressure is mounting, I think, on the government to take some more definitive action to find a solution to traffic on Canning Highway. So I guess this is just, in some respects, a way of us putting a bit of pressure on them to continue to push towards finding a solution. And then secondly, just acknowledging that, you know, one day in the future, if there is a solution and traffic congestion is eased, then we potentially might take another look at density. But until that happens, we can't continue to just support, infinite increases in density in these areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robbins. Councillor Spanbrook, do you wish to speak now or later?
I'll reserve my right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm speaking against this because this motion is all about the LPS 6, and I think what Councillor Robbins is thinking about one day in the future. So our LPS 6 review is going to be hopefully finished by the end of this year. So why would we be putting something down as a dream, as a hope in our LPS 6 review? I think we need to stick to the facts. So let's get our LPS 6 review finished by the end of 2026. We're certainly not going to have Canning Highway fixed before then. And then we can relook at it, in years to come in another LPS 6 review. But at the present point in time, I think it's meaningless that we're putting that sentence in because nothing's going to happen by the end of 2026.
We're just pausing for a moment to get those words on the screen for you. Is that correct, Councillor Robbins?
Almost just congestion instead of concerns. Thank you. Thanks. Sorry, I know should have sent it through.
Yes, so now I can see the amendment. The state government are not going to address the traffic congestion concerns in our LPS 6 review. This motion is about LPS 6 review. So again, I say that this is a pie in the sky statement.
Right, thank you. Do we have another speaker against? Because I need to balance the debate. You're for.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, well, Councillor Spanbrook, if there's no one else, you can proceed. Oh, you are? If you hold on for a moment. Yes, Councillor Spanbrook, if you speak now, and then Councillor Panigo afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the city, they're required to actually complete the local planning scheme number 6 in due course. And for that to be actually completed adequately, that they need to have conversations, obviously, with the state government to address the congestion on Canning Highway before they can even look at, upzoning or other areas, other needs within that that scheme. So therefore, having this in there, I think it's certainly well worth it because it does actually then afford the officers an opportunity to make more headway into state government, maybe a bit of pressure as well, to apply that to them, to say, look, you need to address this so we can then adequately complete the local planning scheme. Thanks.
All right, Councillor Paniotto.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'm a little confused in that amendment to the amendment. Are we saying that we're asking or we want to go ahead or proceed with the high density and wait on the state government to make changes to Canning Highway? I'm not quite sure what the amendment of point 2 currently means. I'm a little just trying to get my head around what are we achieving having to, with the City of Melville, do we have to wait on the state government to make changes on behalf of the City of Melville? That makes... What value does this add, basically?
Right, thank you. Okay, are there any further speakers? Councillor Wheatland, are you speaking for or against? Pardon? For. Okay, thank you, Councillor Wheatland.
Thank you. I'm going to do a bit of a Pozzoli, actually, but I recognise the intent of this motion. I actually agree with it, but I think that traffic congestion along major and local roads are already addressed within the planning mechanisms that we have, within the activity things. And I think what we're doing here is we're not debating LPS 6, we're not debating traffic, but what we're doing here is acknowledging or noting or making a decision on the electors' motions that the electors debated at our annual general meeting of electors. And I think that we're getting a bit too deep into it. So I agree with the state government need to address traffic congestion along Canning Highway, along every major artery. But I think as it stands, the amendment is as it is without our debate, because it's already been debated by the electors at the annual general meeting of electors, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Robbins, I'm going to return to you to wrap up the debate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just, I guess, recap the reasons why I'm moving this, because I think there might be a bit of confusion or misunderstanding. So at the moment, it says that we will review LPS 6 with the intent to introduce proposals to limit increases in density along or feed into Canning Highway. And I hear Councillor Barber when she says that, you know, we're doing this now, so it's only going to be the next 12, 18 months. But the reality is that LPS 6 will exist for, I don't know, 10 plus years. And so once we've done it, then that is our guiding planning document that determines how we essentially allow density increases to happen. So I'm just not comfortable with the wording as it is now that says that we're going to limit increases in density. There's no end time or date on that. And so I guess what I'm trying to do here is to say that, you know, if we got to a point where the state government did address the concerns and did something to address the congestion, and the traffic was flowing freely through Applecross and Mount Pleasant during peak hour, then maybe we'd reconsider. But until that happens, we won't. So yes, part of it is just to ensure that there isn't no end date on what's proposed here. But then part of it, as I said earlier, is just to, I guess, put some extra pressure, potentially, hopefully, on the state government to be actively working towards a solution for Canning Highway, because a lot of what I hear is that, you know, they've got a 10-year plan, 20-year plan, it's in the bottom drawer at main roads, and there's nothing really happening in this space. So anything that we can do, even if it is small, anything that we can do to put some pressure on them to get a wriggle on in this space, I think we should. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robbins. We're now voting on Councillor Robbins' amendment. So if you're voting green, you're voting for it. If you vote red, you're against it. That is carried 6-5. We're on to the substantive motion if there are no further amendments. So the substantive motion, is there any further debate on that? Okay, we have Councillor
I'm happy to withdraw my moving or seconding of the original motion, if that helps.
well, do we have another mover for the motion, the officer's recommendation? Can I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? For 2. Okay, Councillor Wheatland, I'll take that as you moving it. Thank you. Okay, so we haven't yet voted on that part. All right, so okay, so is there any speaker against? Because I'm going to go to the mover and seconder, or the seconder and mover. Councillor Green, do you wish to speak as the seconder?
I will speak briefly. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Despite the amendments and voting for or against for myself, and I presume for others as well, ultimately the most important thing here is to note the motion from the special electors meeting, which I'm absolutely more than happy to do. So I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Councillor Wheatland?
No, I'm happy to go straight to the vote, just recognising the work of the community.
Thank you. So the vote, we are now voting on the amended officer's recommendation, which is before you. Green is for approval and red is against. Carried unanimously. All right, moving on to item AGME motion number 3. We need to table the officer's recommendation first. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Councillor Green, and seconded. You can, you just can't move an amendment. I need a seconder. Oh, hang on, Councillor Hong. Okay, now we have the officer's recommendation on the table. We have Councillor Barber's amendment. Councillor, do you wish to proceed?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Can you? So that is the Councillor Barber's motion amendment is on the screen. I need a seconder, please. Councillor York, thank you. Okay. So, Councillor Barber, continue with your debate.
Councillor Robbins sent me some minor amendments to my amendment, which I have accepted prior to this meeting, and I did forward them to governance. So,
are they in there? Can we have a look and see if they have been included?
I think they are.
Yes. Yeah, so what's on the screen now is including
what you requested?
The changes,
yes. Okay, so yes, the answer is.
All right, lovely. Thank you very much. Everybody, I have made this amendment. Again, I believed that the officer response needed far more rigour. As we've heard from our residents, Applecross Senior High School is bursting at the seams. It's got 25 demountable classrooms already. The situation is untenable and it's creating a very detrimental amenity to key stakeholders and the area around Applecross Senior High School. For that reason, I wanted extra clarity in the officer response, and in this case, I believe lobbying state government to seek clarity about their plans for the future is in order. Now, it's not our remit to do educational boundaries or build new schools, but it is our remit to do zoning, and again, the LPS 6 review comes into play, and also the Booragoon Centre Structure Plan. And both of these things have a huge bearing on the numbers of students at Applecross Senior High School. So for that reason, I wanted these things to be highlighted. I believe I'm doing justice to the intent of the motion by the elector, and for that reason I would like you to support this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor York, do you wish to speak now or later?
I'll speak now, thanks.
Yes, it is there, item 3. If you see item 1, 2 and 3, that should be on your screen. Yes. My understanding is that correct? It says amendment. Councillor Barber? Just confirm that, please. I understand that is the amendment. Item 1, 2 and 3. What about Councillor Robbins' amendments to it? Are you taking that into consideration?
My wording was to liaise with the West Australian Government and Education Department officials to provide a detailed report. This looks like it's just asking the West Australian Government and Education Department official to provide a detailed report. I don't think that was the intent of my amendment. Ultimately, it's still our officers who have to provide the report, but after liaison with the WA Government. So I think that might have taken the intent of my amendment away.
Councillor Barber, I'm just going to get Ms Newman, Head of Governance, to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Councillor Barber, what's on the screen includes the amendments that you've accepted from Councillor Robbins.
Just reading it has taken away the intent of my thing, so can I unaccept? Councillor Robbins, is that what you meant? Did you mean the Education Department to write the report or our officers?
Yeah, I changed liaise with to request that because I think, yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware of what your intent was, but my view would be that they're better equipped to write that report than us.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't think the Education Department officials will have a brass rose due knowledge of the Booragoon Activity Centre and surrounds, so I don't agree with it, I'm sorry.
So now what are we looking at, your original?
Yeah, I think, can we go back to my original one? I do apologise.
Okay, we'll just see if we can get that on the table. Yeah, look, we've got a challenge here because it was moved and seconded. If your seconder is happy to receive that, I think we can change that. So the seconder needs to be happy with your changes back to your original.
Yeah, I'm happy to change it back.
Okay, thank you. So we can change it back now.
Madam Mayor, I have an amendment to the amendment as well, thanks.
We have to deal with the amendment first, then we'll take your amendment.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councillor Wheatland.
Are we able to get Mr Varellis to give some feedback on the impact of this amendment, please?
You mean item 3?
This one
or
as
the
it
whole,
stands on the screen.
The whole amendment.
This
Okay.
whole amendment, thanks.
Madam Mayor, perhaps as part of that, could Mr Varellis just discuss what he sees as the difference between that wording of liaise with and request that?
Yes, I think that's perhaps a better question. Mr Varellis, are you able to do that for us? Thank you.
Through the chair, The State Government Department of Education are the lead agency responsible for high school provision within the metropolitan area. The City would be liaising and relaying information to Council from the Department of Education in any case. So if we can, as a council, could request a report from that State Government agency, and if the City liaises with that State Government agency, the information that would be relayed across would be very similar.
Councillor Robbins, you're looking puzzled.
Yes, sorry. Could I just seek clarity? Is Mr Varela saying that he doesn't think it would matter what the wording is, or is he saying that we can't liaise to write a report? Because I guess I'm just thinking, like, practically, how does that work? Like, is that back and forth between us and them until we've got a final product that both parties are happy with? Like, what if there's disagreement, then what happens? Could we just have a bit more clarification? Thanks.
Mr Varela, can you do that, please?
No problems. Through the chair, the City is already engaging with the Department of Education on the concerns that have been raised around Applecross High School. If council's of a view to obtain a report written by the Department of Education, then it could pass a resolution to request that. Notwithstanding, the City is already in that engagement with the senior officers at the Department of Education. The concerns from the community around increased density and the impact on Applecross High School are well known by our team, and that information is being relayed to the Department of Education. So whether they write a report that's then provided to council, if council's not happy with that report, there could be dialogue through the administration to the Department of Education on those particulars. If the City's engaging with the Department of Education and liaising with council on the information that's being relayed, and council has concern with the information coming from the Department of Education, we can also relay back and ensure that the information is arrived at a point that everybody's comfortable to make decisions upon, whether it's in a report or provided through the officers and presented to council at elected member briefing sessions, and then ultimately documented in council reports, which council makes final decisions on.
All right, thank you. Have we clarified that enough for everybody?
Madam Mayor, could I also ask a question of Director Varela?
Councillor Green.
Thank you, Director Varela. I was just interested to know, in comparison to work already underway and planned in terms of liaising with the Education Department and providing information back to the council, would you see the wording here of providing a detailed report as being significant extra work for City officers, or would it basically just be similar work that covers both requests, if you like?
Mr Varelas?
Through the chair, the community's put a lot of time and effort into raising the concerns around Applecross High School with the City. I think it's due courtesy of the administration to provide that detailed reporting to council in its decision-making process. So I don't have concern with that phrasing.
Thank you. Do you
May I
have a
ask,
question?
Yeah, the Director a question as well, please.
Councillor Spanbrook?
Yeah, thank you. Mr Varela, so with regard to this motion, or this alternative motion, and the amendment, of course, how it's unfolded, that according to what the officer recommendation is this just delaying the process, or sorry, maybe I should say delaying the actual meeting here tonight? Because as you just raised earlier, the City is already working in this process. You're already engaging with the Department of Education. So is it a fair call from your perspective, do you need to even have this at all?
I don't think that, Councillor Spanbrook, I don't think it's up to Mr Varelas to decide whether...
What I should have said, that with the officer recommendation for the motion 3, that would have all had adequately covered what's in this alternative motion and the amendment. Thanks.
Mr Varelas, I'm not sure if you're comfortable answering that.
Through the chair, as I mentioned earlier, the City is well aware of the community's concerns with Applecross High School. A lot of this work is afoot at present with the state government agencies. Notwithstanding that, if council's of a view to pass resolutions to put further emphasis on that, that's council's prerogative.
All right, thank you. Let's move on with the debate. Oh, Councillor Robbins, is that another question?
sort of, through you, Madam Mayor, I'm wondering if Councillor Barber would be willing to adopt my proposed changes if we leave those first two words with her wording. So leave it as liaise with, but then just incorporate a couple of other minor changes. I'm happy to go into detail of what those are. If
let's hear them.
okay, so it's to insert the words impact of before increasing densification, and then later on inserting the words and whether this will result in overcapacity. So the purpose of my changes is just not to preempt the outcome of that report. Because I think at the moment the way it reads is a little bit like, oh, we know what it's going to say, so we'll get them to, we'll like make sure we write this report to say what we know it's already going to say. So I'd rather it be like, you know, you tell us, you know, the report outline the issues.
Councillor Barber, are you happy to do that? Rather, I think what Councillor Robbins is saying, am I correct that we are preempting what in this item 3, we're preempting what the outcome will be, whereas Councillor Robbins is kind of leaving it a bit open for them to tell us. Am I understanding that? Councillor Barber, are you prepared to accept those changes?
I don't think so. I don't think so because we're dealing in facts here and currently there are 25 demountables, there are detrimental impacts and there is overcapacity. So I don't think, if it's the will of the council, but I don't think, I personally don't think we need to add those words.
All right, well, the option is open for Councillor Robbins to move an amendment. You are quite in your rights to do that. You flagged it now. All right, so going back, if I'm not hearing an amendment, we are in an amendment at the moment, so we'll have to wait till we finish with this one and then we'll hear anybody else who has an amendment. So now we're on to Councillor Barber's motion as is on the screen. We've had Councillors Barber speak, Councillor York speak. Is there a speaker against? Councillor York? Yes, okay. I thought you did. You spoke a little bit earlier after Councillor Barber opened the debate.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Barber. I'd just like to reiterate my strong support for this motion. I think it's important for council motions to, I guess, emphasise and direct particular concerns rather than relying on broad statements that everything will be considered. I think particularly for Central Ward residents, Applecross Senior High School is probably the key piece of infrastructure in the ward. And for most, it's actually a primary consideration in actually moving into the ward. So I think it's very important that we emphasise possible detrimental impacts of increasing density in that area, particularly in regards to the potential that school zoning may be reduced as a result of increased density, which could potentially result in a lot of dissatisfaction from ratepayers that have specifically bought into the Applecross Senior High School zone for that purpose, and then as a result of density proceeding find themselves subject to WA state government redistricting of the intake zone of the school. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? If there's no speaker against, is there any voice against? Well, that's why I'm finding out if there's any voice against. There is a voice against. Okay, thank you. We're going to go to the vote. So,
can I have the right reply?
Councillor Barber, please wrap up the debate.
Yeah, I'll just wrap it up, everybody. My intent of this amendment was simply to extrapolate the officer's response rather than just saying it'll be acknowledged in LPS 6, but to, as I said, extrapolate to provide increased clarity and rigour to the officer response. I applaud and I thank Mr Varelis for his comments this evening. He mentioned further emphasis, and I agree with that, and I'm sure the residents would like that. I think Councillor Robbins, in her, and I thought it was just a language thing, but it was a language thing that was introducing something entirely new. Entirely new in that we were asking the state
I think this is new information that has already been dealt with. If you just stick to the debate, please. That was not part of the debate.
I'm refuting some of the things that were brought up in the debate. All I'm doing is trying to, as I said, improve the clarity, not introduce new information like asking the Education Department to write a report. However, to include in the report that our officers are writing as part of LPS 6, which they're doing anyway, as Mr Varelis has already said, but now, due to this, hopefully there will be more emphasis on this particular issue. So thank you, Mr Varelis, for the confidence in this detailed report. Thank you, and it's just a matter of getting increased rigour in this officer response. So please, I hope you accept this amendment.
Thank you. We're now going to the vote. Green means you accept the amendment and red means you don't. Green for yes, red for no. We're just having a slight technical issue. Just bear with us and we'll be... Oh, it's here now. Carried 7-4. Thank you.
I'd like to move my amendment, please, Madam Mayor.
Yes, please explain your amendment.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So, given the comments from Mr Varelis, I'm happy to leave out the change to those first couple of words. So, leave it at liaise with. But yeah, I'll proceed with my other changes. I just want to start, I guess, by commenting on the fact that, like, we received this at 9:03 this morning, and I hope you'll forgive the frustration in my voice, but I'm at work all day. I spent my lunch break trying to quickly get my head around this, like, quickly made a phone call to the CEO to discuss it, and then, like, try and get my head out of that back into work, and then thinking about it on the drive home to quickly see my kids for 15 minutes and then coming here. Like, it's hard to fit it all in when you're only receiving it first thing on a Tuesday morning. But anyway, I'll proceed. So I guess when I first read through all of this on my lunch break today, my first concern was that we didn't get an advice note to go with this, unless I've missed that in the busyness of the day. And so I don't know the impacts, what it means for the staff. And so then I, called the CEO to see if she thinks that whether there will be a lot of impacts in the way that the staff will process these motions as a result of Councillor Barber's amendments. And the CEO said, I hope she doesn't mind me sharing, but said that she generally thinks a lot of it would not cause any problems, that the staff would be happy to accommodate what's proposed. But one of the things we discussed specifically was this one and just some of the wording around it. And just, I guess my concern with the wording as it is currently is that sort of, like, we know there's issues there. I guess anecdotally, yes, we've heard all the stories.
Councillor Robbins, are you going to tell us what the amendment is? We don't actually know at this point. If you can just tell us what the amendment is, and if officers perhaps could highlight it so we can see the change.
Sure. So it's to insert the words impact of before the word increasing, change the word of to in, insert the words and whether this will after the word surrounds, and change the word resulting to result.
Okay.
I
now,
did send it through with track changes, but obviously that hasn't been captured, so
all
I guess
right.
that makes
so
it a bit trickier.
now, if you could please read that and see if the officers have it correct. If you,
Okay, did send it through earlier today, but that's okay. Request that the Western, oh sorry, we're going to go with liaise with the Western Australian Government and Education Department officials to provide a detailed report regarding the impact of increasing densification in the Booragoon Activity Centre and surrounds, and whether this will result in overcapacity and detrimental impacts to key stakeholders at Uppercross Senior High School.
do you have a seconder?
How else? Oh, sorry, yep, we'll see.
I'd like, can I make an, even though I'm going to second it, because I also want to make an amendment to it as well.
Can you just second it first? That would be very helpful. And what are you suggesting?
Just for, if Councillor Robbins will agree to take out the word note, acknowledge and put in note, AGM motion 3. That is point 1.
I don't know if we
Are we
can do
making an
that
amendment
because
of the whole 1 and 2, or are you just referring to point 2?
sorry. Look, the council's already voted on that, so we can't go back over it. We have to just stick with Councillor Robbins' amendment.
Well, I did foreshadow an amendment, but you never came back to me.
But you can't have that as your amendment. Why not? Because we've already voted on it.
That was for AGM motion
1. Ms Newman, Head of Governance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Councillor Barber's amendment to AGM motion 3, her first point in that was replace the word note with acknowledge in point 1, and that amendment was voted on just prior to your amendment, Councillor Robbins. So that amendment has already been made. You're now amending point 3 of the amendment. That makes sense? Thank you.
So just to check with Ms Newman, so I did foreshadow an amendment to that, and no one came back
Was
to
the
me.
foreshadowing of the amendment to change it back?
Back to what the officer recommendation was, which is note, not acknowledge.
Ms Newman, Ms Newman, can you just confirm again?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, Councillor Spanbrook, the amendment that Councillor Barber made changed it from notes to acknowledge, and that amendment was carried by the council. Thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Robbins, Councillor Spanbrook, you're still happy to be that seconder? Yes, thank you. All right. Councillor Robbins, did you finish your debate? You didn't. Okay, thank you. Could you finish it?
I'll try and be quick, and I'll try and calm down a bit. But yeah, really it's just that so we're not preempting the outcome of this report. We know that there's concern about the school and the capacity and the traffic and congestion caused, and we've heard the stories from the electors, but I just feel that the wording as it is at the moment is sort of saying that we know what's going to be the outcome, so give us the report, as opposed to saying, so yeah, my changes are to say regarding the impact of and whether this will result in overcapacity and detrimental impacts. I'd rather just leave it open, let the professionals gather the data and write their professional recommendation rather than telling them what their report should find, essentially. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Spanbrook, do you wish to speak now or later?
I will now, I may as well, because we've been on this for quite a long time now. So in saying that with regard to the amendment by Councillor Robbins, that I was surprised as she was with the alternative motion that was initially put forward by Councillor Barber, as I thought what the officer recommendations had been put to us were quite adequate, and I didn't think it was any necessary to go any further. So just now speaking on, can you mind going to Councillor Robbins, her amendment, because I think it was requests, it's not liaise, because, yeah, here it is here. Yeah, request, yes. And liaise has an L-I-A-I, I just noticed. If you go back up. Oh, actually, just check with Councillor Roberts, isn't it request? Because liaise with the WA government was Councillor Barber's initial.
I know, I was trying to sort of meet halfway and take on board the comments from Mr Varelis. I'm still not really sure what the difference will be. The difference is we either get them to write the report or we do it together. I'm happy to go with doing it together if that's Councillor Barber's preference, and Mr Varelis seems to indicate that it'd be easy enough to do it like that, so I'm fine with that.
Okay, so I just wish to emphasise it as well, and the fact that we're still talking about it. So I support, second the motion. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Yes, Councillor Robbins' amendment, as on the screen right now.
Yeah, I'll speak against. I just don't think this amendment is necessary. I think the previous amendment covered it all. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, is there another speaker against? Okay, Councillor Wheatland, I'll take that now, and then we're closing the debate.
Thank you. Look, I just want to talk about this as a risk to council, as a risk. I've made some notes, because this isn't about whether this concern is valid, because it actually is. There's lots of concerns out in the community. What I'm worried about is if we pass this motion and we request a report, we've got no control over whether or not the Department of Education will come to the party and give a report. So once this is passed, the community will see this as a request from council, and we will get blamed if we don't get a report. It may be perceived as we raised this and nothing happened. So from a risk...
Madam Mayor, sorry, point of order. I think Councillor Wheatland's speaking to Councillor Barber's amendment, which has already been dealt with. I don't think she's speaking...
No, I'm speaking to yours.
To my amendment?
Yeah.
To Councillor Barber's?
Well, you're asking about a detailed report, are you not?
But that was already there. That's already been
Okay,
resolved.
this is not a point of order. Let's just let Councillor Wheatland give her debate.
Thanks. Look, reputational damage...
She's not talking about the amendment, though. How can we let her give it?
Okay, so...
All right, I'm happy to stop and I'll speak about it at the substantive.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Councillor Robbins, can you please close the debate?
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the vote on the amendment. Yeah, that is on the screen. Yes, I do understand that. The thing is, we haven't got the words highlighted that were changed, and I think that makes it quite challenging for us to know which bits were changed. Is there any way we can put red in where it, highlight the bits that were changed so we know? Because I think that's what councillors are struggling with, is we don't know which bits were changed. Yeah, make it red or some other colour so we know. That's it. That looks better. Now we'll have a clearer idea what the changes are. So exactly as was agreed upon in the previous motion, but now those bits have been included in the amendment. This is the amendment, the bits in yellow. Okay, I think that's clearer now what we're talking about. No, that was accepted by Councillor Barber. We voted on that. It's as is. It's been voted on. Okay, is everybody happy? Councillor Robbins, are they all the words you included?
Yes, thank you.
Maybe could we read the other one to see the difference, or is it's not no, okay, we can't.
If we can roll it down, can we see the two together? I think that's because we've not seen them, we haven't had the highlights. It's been a bit confusing. Okay, there you go. The two are together now. Oh, hang on. That's different.
That's Councillor Robbins' old one. I didn't like request.
I think
my
it must
original
be. Can we get the one that was voted on?
Yeah, that was my original.
Yes. Yeah, that amendment. I think what they're saying is, can we put them together so we can see the difference? Is that at all possible? Yeah, the bottom bit. If we can move that next to the other one. Okay, so now you've got them both together. Does that help? All right, so there are the changes. You can see them against the other. They're the same apart from the bits in yellow. Why are we highlighting in yellow the bottom one now? Oh, the yellow in the other one down below, or now it's a different colour, that is the major change, okay? Yeah. Yeah. One is saying will result and the other is saying may, well, it's leaving it a little more open, if I can say that. Okay, does everybody understand? Councillor Ross. Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering if what the difference is in one case it says that the community have said there will be the increased densification will result in overcapacity and detrimental impacts. And in the amendment that's proposed, we're asking the government and the education officials whether they think it will increase and whether the increase will result in overcapacity and detrimental impacts. Isn't that sort of asking the devil whether you're committing a sin or not? I mean,
Well, I think this is now going to be a decision of council. So I think the whole debate has been. We've just got some clarity now. This is what you're voting on. So it is what is highlighted in yellow is the amendment. Okay, is everybody clear? Have you read both now? All right, let's go to a vote.
Katie votes for this amendment. It's ridiculous.
Okay, green is you agree with the changes Councillor Robbins made and they're in yellow, and red is against. That amendment is carried 6-5. All right, now we're back to the substantive motion unless there are further amendments. If there are no further amendments, Councillor Hong, do you wish to make a comment on the substantive motion as amended? You're the seconder, so I'm asking you first.
I reserve my right, thanks.
You can no longer reserve your right unless there is debate. All right, thank you. You reserve your right, fine. Councillor Whitland.
Right, I thank you. I'll continue, or I'll start again really briefly, because this has gone on for a long time. I just want to talk about this as risk. And as council, we are required to consider risk in our decision making. Once we pass this, the community will see this as an action, which is what they want and what we want to give them, but not a request. If no report comes back, we'll wear that, council will wear that, not the department. We're relying entirely on an external agency, a department of government, that we can't control and we can't, we just can't control. And it's an action without control over the outcome, which is what we're asking to do with this motion. This puts school capacity again into the formal record, which already the planning department are liaising with the department in the LPX6 review based on the community feedback. If nothing comes back, we create an expectation gap, and that's where that trust starts to break down. There is no defined next step in this substantive motion as amended. If the department does not respond, what happens next? What are we going to do? We're going to continue to proceed anyway with no report, as we've asked in this motion. If densification continues without answers, then the narrative becomes really simple for the community. We knew, we acknowledged it with this motion, and no matter the outcome, we move forward anyway. So that's my concern from a risk perspective. And starting my AICD course, I've been doing all my pre-learning this week, and it's been a lot about risk. And I think that that's a really big concern right here, right now. So I ask you to consider that.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatland. Is there another speaker against? I'll go to Councillor Hong. Sorry, I was thinking that if we have 2-4 closing the debate, I would take another person against. But if you think that there's more people who want to speak against, we'll take more. Just indicate, please, because I need to know now. All right, so Councillor Spanbrook, you want to speak against? If we don't have any further speakers against, I don't really want to take any further speakers for, because we've got 2 more. So, Councillor Hong, can you speak now?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it is important for us to hear our electors' concerns and look into it. And our team, city team, is already liaising with the Department of the Education. And I'm certain that all the relevant information will be added into local planning scheme 6. So please support the substantive motion for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Green, can you wrap up the debate, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whilst I don't necessarily agree with what we've come back to with the substantive motion, I think the absolute most important thing we have to do is to acknowledge or note, in my view, it doesn't matter which word we use there at all. I've actually looked today and I couldn't find any definition that pulled the two together, apart from each other, but never mind. The overwhelming responsibility, if you like, of us as a council tonight is to acknowledge or note the motions put forward at the annual general meeting of electors. This is what we've arrived at on this motion, and I don't think we can really vote against it at this point, because that would be a worse outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green. We're going to the vote. So we're voting on the substantive motion as amended. So Green is for the amended motion and red is against. Thank you. The substantive motion as amended is carried 10-1. Okay, now we're on to AGME motion 4. I need a mover of the officer's recommendation. Councillor Wheatland, a seconder. Councillor Spanbrook. Councillor Barber, do you wish to proceed with your amendment?
With some trepidation. I just would like to replace the word note with acknowledge and replace the word acknowledge with recognise, only to say to our electors who went to the trouble to put this motion that we acknowledge it and we recognise the effort that you put in, and we will, the officers will work on it accordingly.
All right, thank you.
Just to follow up, look, we already are working on our tree policy, and it's just acknowledging and thanking them for their motion and recognising that we'll incorporate their thoughts. We always incorporate the community's thoughts into it when we plan our policies, but this is just what the changing that word language was all about.
Do you have a seconder? That looks like it's going to lapse through a lack of a seconder. Councillor Paniotu is seconding, am I correct? All right, so Councillor Barber, you have spoken. Can I take it that you've spoken? And Councillor Paniotu, do you wish to speak now or later?
Yeah, again, just repeating that when you had the AGM a couple of weeks ago, that this will hopefully acknowledge or note what the elected people are requesting with regards to this policy.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Green.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to put it to a vote, I won't speak any further.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Spanbrook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, I think this is a delay of council time, as I believe that we're actually undermining the officer recommendation, as the officers are very aware, as we are, that there is already a process in place, and it's actually already, we're already doing things. So therefore, to actually put this up, and I would like to speak against it, because it should be note, and I think the officers are best served to actually, use the correct wording according to what the motion is. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barber, can you please wrap up the debate?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to put it to a vote. I've said my piece. My whole point is to acknowledge the efforts of our community.
Okay, thank you. It's going to the vote. Green is to accept Councillor Barber's changes, and red is not to accept them. That is carried 9-2. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next motion. Oh, sorry, substantive motion. Thank you very much. Councillor Spanbrook, do you wish to speak further on this substantive motion with amendments?
I'm happy for it to go straight to the vote. Thank you.
Councillor Wheatland, you're the mover.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I just want to add that, we've already had substantial debate and discussion, ongoing, I should say, discussion, and it was evident again at the annual meeting of electors, the high level of passion and the need for a tree retention policy to be developed, which we're doing, and I want to again applaud and thank the community for their advocacy and their stewardship on this.
Thank you. Okay, we're on the substantive motion as amended. Green is for accepting it, and red is not accepting it, saying no. Councillor Wheatland. That is carried unanimously. Moving on to the next item. Motion 5.
Madam Mayor, could I ask a question perhaps before we start?
What is your question, Councillor Green?
Without wanting to be I'm not sure what the word for it is. I've lost track of whether which motions now have the word note used and which have the word acknowledge used. So I'm just trying to see if we have an opportunity to be consistent. Perhaps we should consider that. But yeah, I was just wondering if we could just recap.
It appears they've all been changed to acknowledge at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have the officer's recommendation for motion 5. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Spanbrook, and do we have a seconder? Councillor York. Okay, we have a motion by Councillor Barber. Do you wish to proceed? Sorry, Councillor Barber, do you wish to proceed?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Similar, look, I don't want to take too long. It's similar to the previous motion. I just want to acknowledge the efforts of our very intelligent and committed and passionate community. I think I remember an impassioned plea by Mr Legg, I think, was either motion 5 or motion 4. Vanessa, I think, spoke about one of them. And it's more about acknowledging their efforts and acknowledging their passion and moving on to then continue to progress our urban forest strategy review, which we're doing. So that's the motive. It's there. My amendment is to, where is it? Acknowledge and then continue the process.
Yes, the amendment is change note to acknowledge. That's it. Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any voice to the contrary? Is anyone against? Okay, we have a seconder in Councillor York. Okay, sorry. The Councillor Barber. Yes, we need a seconder for Councillor Barber's motion. Do we have a seconder? Okay, it may lapse through lack of us. Oh, there is a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Green. Do we need to debate this? We've been through it a few times. So is there anyone against? Okay, is there anyone who wishes to debate? If not, we'll go straight to the vote. Please speak now if you need to debate.
Madam Mayor, as I've actually opposed it, I would like to speak against it.
All right, thank you. We'll go through the process then. Councillor Barber, can you please speak to this motion?
I'll reserve my right. Do I have to speak?
No, you don't you can't reserve your right, but you don't have to speak either. Okay, Councillor Green, do you wish to speak now or later?
I'll reserve my right.
Thank you. Councillor Spanbrook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the sake of Councillor Lim, who did not hear this initially, but I would like to say, let councillors know that the wording between acknowledge and note is quite significant, and I've actually I've had that on good advice, so I think it's very important that we acknowledge that. So in saying that, I do actually oppose the word acknowledge being changed out, the word note being changed out for acknowledge. And because, once again, I'll read this, that the actual, excuse me a minute. Whoops, here. Apologies for that. The word acknowledge has a meaning of accepting or recognising. The implication can also be misconstrued as agreeing. It's the same as we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, etc., that is read out before every meeting. We don't say we note, we say we acknowledge. And why do we say we acknowledge? It's because we accept it, we recognise it, we even agree with it. So that's the example that I'm using, and that can be also used in these motions as well. By acknowledging them, it can also preempt or seeking or preempt an outcome. So therefore, it is properly a proper functioning government. They should actually always be aware of this, and officers should not automatically acknowledge a motion as that they are motions, that without an investigation, professional advice, it can also be misconstrued by a presumption of an outcome. It also forms they can form an analysis or even seeking evidence. This is good governance. So by acknowledging something, you're agreeing. If someone were to say, you know, you're coming out for a coffee, I acknowledge. And they, yep, I'm agreeing to it. So therefore, what we're doing, changing the officer recommendation to acknowledge, is then allowing people to believe, or community I should say, that the officers are acknowledging it. They're agreeing to it. But that is not good governance. So this is why I'm opposing to this. And I think that councillors need to take this on board and think of it very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spanbrook. Does anyone wish to speak against, for the motion? Okay. If there's no further speakers, I shall go back to Councillor Barber to wrap up the debate, if you wish.
I think we might just put this to a vote, if that's okay, Madam Mayor.
Yes, we'll go straight to the vote. If you agree, vote green. If you don't agree, vote red. Okay. That's carried 9-2. We now have an amendment from Councillor Wetland. Can you please tell us your amendment?
Thank you, and apologies for doing this on the fly. This is we're doing number 5, aren't we? Yep. So I want the officer recommendation to be amended as follows. Point 2 to be deleted and replaced with reaffirms its commitment to progressing the Urban Forest Strategy Review 2024 and achieving measurable and sustainable increases in tree canopy aligned with emerging state government policy direction on urban canopy protection. Do you want me to just give you a moment?
Yes. Can you just confirm that what we're seeing on the screen is what you have proposed?
I emailed it through to governance, Katie.
Okay. I just want you to confirm that that is what you emailed, because we're not entirely sure whether it's been completed or not. Oh, here we go. It keeps changing.
Yep. Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
So point 2 be deleted. All
And
right,
replaced with.
Replaced with, thank you. Councillor Wheatland, do you have a seconder? Councillor Barber. Thank you. Councillor Wheatland, can you please speak to this?
Yeah, thank you. Look, this is, I wanted to move this amendment in response to state government statements that have emphasised the importance of protecting and expanding our urban tree canopy as part of climate adaptation and livability planning. Many residents too have also spoken to me and others in this chamber about the need to integrate tree canopy with our local planning schemes and streetscapes, etc. Aligning council's wording with this emerging policy direction demonstrates responsible governance and consistency with strategy, and it also, what it does essentially is strengthens the policy signal of our commitment to urban canopy protection by moving beyond actions to reaffirm measurable and sustainable canopy outcomes. So apologies again for the lateness in putting this through. I too work long hours like everyone in this chamber, and yeah, I only got around to it today. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak now or later?
I'll speak later, Madam Mayor.
Is there a speaker?
Madam Mayor, can the motion or the amendment be put, please?
We need to vote on that. Do you have a seconder?
Oh, can I just ask a question?
Just a moment. We've got a procedural motion on the table.
I put my mic on, so should I just yell out as well? What's the process? Do you just yell out?
We'll take your question. What is your question?
Thank you. Just wondering whether councillors have been briefed on the emergency state government policy direction referred to in the amendment.
Can an officer please respond? Mr Coton, can you please respond?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, there hasn't been a specific briefing on it, but the state government policy in regards to urban canopy is a target of 30% as outlined in the annual electors meeting motion.
Okay, we now have a procedural motion on the table. The motion to put the motion. Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Barber, you can't second it. You are the seconder of the amendment. Is there another seconder? It lapses through lack of a seconder. So we're back to debate.
Madam Mayor, you didn't really give it much of an opportunity. I have noticed you've given every other ones more opportunity than what you have given mine. Thank you. I'd like
Councillor, I did, but I can ask again. In fact, sorry, I have called the vote. So, yes, I thought I gave everybody plenty of time. Councillor Barber was happy to help, but she's already seconded another. She's seconded the amendment, so she couldn't help you there. So there was no other person. Let's move on with, is there a speaker against? Councillor Robbins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just 2 points quickly. I'm not sure, I, for one, am not comfortable supporting something that we're going to align with emerging state government policy direction when we haven't even been briefed on what that emerging state government policy direction is, let alone the fact that it's emerging and not even an adopted position. And then secondly, we've heard multiple times from our officers that the 30% canopy is not feasible, and yeah, I'm all for trying to plant more trees, but I can't agree with something that we know we can't do. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Robbins. Is there another speaker against? I just need to get an indication. You will? Okay. Are there any others? Okay, I'll take Councillor Spanbrook then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Robbins makes some good points there, and as all councillors have been informed with a presentation that we've had at EMAS, if all ovals or parks or reserves or every public open space was filled with trees, the maximum tree canopy that we can achieve is between 15 to 17%. It's impossible to actually achieve 30%, which what is Walga is proposing. So I am listening to Councillor Robbins. She's obviously aware of something that's been proposed by state government, and I think that that needs to be taken into consideration before we actually support this. So I do. So I'm actually not supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spanbrook. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak now?
No, I'm happy not to speak, Madam Mayor.
All right. Councillor Whitland, can you please wrap up the debate?
Thank you. Look, all I'm doing with this amendment, or seeking to do with this amendment, is support the motion that was put up by I think this was Vanessa, by the resident in the community that moved this motion, and you know the comments, the comments, the state policy is nothing new. There were comments made prior to the weekend that put it back on local government about tree canopy. So what this is doing, it's just reflecting, it reinforces Council's existing adopted urban forest strategy from 2024, and it reflects the clear community expectation that canopy outcomes be treated as a priority. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatland. We'll go to the vote. Green is supporting the amendment by Councillor Wheatland and red is not. That amendment is lost 4-7. We're now on the substantive motion as amended, and does is there a speaker against the substantive motion that's been amended? All right. Councillor York, do you wish to speak on this item before we vote?
No, thanks.
No. Councillor Spanbrook, do you wish to speak on this item before we vote? To wrap up the debate as the mover.
Happy to go to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. We will go to the vote. So green is supporting the substantive motion as amended and red is not. This item is carried 10-1. Oh, is that too late? Is it closed? It's closed and been declared. Okay. All right, item 6. Before we move to the amendment, I need a mover and second of the officer's recommendation, substantive motion. Thank you, Councillor Spanbrook, and seconded, Councillor York. Okay, Councillor Barber, you have an amendment. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Can we have that on the screen visible? Thank you.
Motion 6.
All right, Councillor Barber, can you do you have a seconder for your motion? Oh, Councillor Ross? Yeah, Councillor Ross, yes. Okay. Councillor Barber, can you please talk to your amendment?
Yes, thanks everybody, and thank you for your patience with these electors' motions, but I think it's important that we give our community due respect. Motion 6, I'm not bringing in any new information in the officer recommendation. Rather, I'm just asking for, as I said before, increased rigour, stronger language. This is a very important topic, and I thank the elector, Ms Charlton, for raising it at the AGM. There has been significant media interest, and therefore I think that rather than just review the use of artificial turf, I think that we need to directly address the use of artificial turf, using the stronger language and looking at the benefits and detriments in a due consideration report. And so I hope that you will support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ross, do you wish to speak now or later? Okay, thank you. Is there a speaker against? Is there anyone against? If nobody is against, I'm going to declare it carried. It's carried. Now, we have the substantive motion. Are there any further amendments? Is there anyone against? I declare it carried.
Madam Mayor, does that bring us to the end of this item?
Yes, we have. We've reached the end of the
Could I
item.
please request a 5-minute adjournment?
Is everybody agreeable to that? Is everybody happy with a 5-minute adjournment? Okay, there is a 5-minute adjournment. All right, I'm reconvening the meeting. Please take your seat. All right, so we're on to M2668, City of Melville motions to the 2026 Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Councillor Wheatland, and I need a seconder for the officer recommendation. Is there a seconder? Councillor Green. Councillor Wheatland.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, the Australian Local Government General Assembly call for motions closes on the 27th of February, and I worked with Rebecca Brown from Walga and also city officers to, and the Mayor to, Mayor and the CEO to bring these two motions to Council for the City of Melville to move them, to submit them and move them at the Australian Local Government General Assembly. These two topics are pretty critical here, or one of them is quite critical here in Western Australia, so I'll talk to them briefly. The first one is to call on the Australian Government to provide $200 million support for local government and the resource recovery industry to implement new and improve existing FOGO systems, including by investing in infrastructure, market development and community education and behaviour change. The National Waste Action Plan includes target of 80% average resource recovery rate from all waste streams and having the amount of organic waste to landfill by 2030. For local governments where it is feasible, one of the key approaches is implementing a FOGO system, but local government's ability to do this and to implement it is undermined by contamination, limited processing infrastructure, particularly in the regions, and market acceptance. Consistent support is needed from the Australian Government to address these issues. Funding from some state governments have assisted local governments to implement FOGO, and there's been Australian and state government funding for some infrastructure development. For local government to implement FOGO, there are initial infrastructure costs as well as ongoing community education. Community education and behaviour change is vital to the success of FOGO to mitigate risks of contamination and ensure a quality end product. Without market acceptance and confidence in the quality of the product, local government can't implement FOGO. Emerging contaminants like PFAS cause further concerns with product use. Sustained funding program from the Australian Government would ensure local governments who have either implemented FOGO, who are starting implementation, can address these issues and contribute to the achievement of these national trends. The second one is about polyphagous shot hole borer and its local government as a key partner in biosecurity. And it's calling on the Australian Government to reform the National Environmental Biosecurity Response Agreement and associated arrangements to include local government as key partners and to fund the long-term management and containment of the polyphagous shot hole borer to protect urban canopy and biodiversity across Australia. Look, local governments are on the front line of biosecurity, but we're not included in the national response structure or funding arrangements. This weakens any response effort as decisions about feasibility and funding for eradication of new biosecurity threats, e.g. polyphagous shot hole borer, and there's another couple on the horizon too, I believe, are made with very limited engagement with local government. Eradication of polyphagous shot hole borer has not been successful, it has failed. There is no clear vision or previous, context or precedent's the word I was looking for, or any evidence of any success to eradicate polyphagous shot hole borer. They've tried in California, they've tried elsewhere overseas. And now long-term containment and effective management is the only option. If it spreads outside the current quarantine area, the potential impact on urban canopy and biodiversity across Australia will be catastrophic. It'll affect the agriculture, and once it gets into the southwest and starts destroying our agricultural crops, then we've got a real food security issue as well. These response agreements were established with the ag sector and currently only include Australian and state territory governments and the ag sector. As these threats extend beyond agriculture, clearly they're across the metro area, including polyphagous shot-hole borer and the H5 bird flu, the national framework must evolve to formally include local government as a key partner and to be at the table. Local governments have critical on-the-ground expertise, first-hand expertise. Not utilising this undermines the effectiveness of this response. This has been demonstrated here in Western Australia with the polyphagous shot-hole borer response, and unfortunately, the City of Melville was one of the first local governments to be affected by polyphagous shot-hole borer. State government was unable to share detailed information with the sector as the information is covered by confidentiality provisions in the national agreements.
You're wrapping up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This polyphagous shot-hole borer poses a significant risk to urban canopy and biodiversity and must be contained within the quarantine area. So I ask you, councillors and elected members, to support these two motions to take to the ALGA General Assembly to raise these really, really important motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatland. Councillor Green, do you wish to speak now or later?
I'll reserve my right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Or do you...
Madam Mayor, may I ask an officer a question?
Yes, Councillor Spanbrook.
I'm not sure which officer would probably answer it. Maybe Director Coton. Director Coton, if you're across Councillor Wheatland's motion, just wondering... Yeah, but haven't you added to it?
No.
Sorry?
No.
Oh, I thought you did some amendments to it.
No, this is an officer recommendation, and Councillor Wheatland moved it.
Apologies. I don't have to say anything at all, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone against? Councillor Ross? Yeah. Yes, Councillor Ross.
It seems to me that this is probably something that affects all of the local governments. So wouldn't it be more appropriate that Walga actually does these representations on behalf of all the local governments? My second part of my question is, who gets the 200 million if successful, and who pays? And I don't think so. I think it might be spread. And who pays for the costs of all this work that's being put into this, including possible costs of making representations over east, Canberra, or wherever this is being held? I think it's my issue, I suppose, concern is that the City of Melville ratepayers shouldn't be paying for the benefits of all the other local governments when this could be actually done by Walga for everyone. So if I could get some clarification, please.
Councillor Wheatland, can you clarify that?
Absolutely. And look, very, very good questions. So this motion calls on the National General Assembly, which is all local governments in Australia, to support getting local government a seat at the table with the national biosecurity response to polyphagous shot-hole borer. And that representative, I would imagine, would be from ALGA, from the Australian Local Government Association. They would fund it, I would imagine. And secondly, the 200 million would... I'm not sure how that would be spent. I would imagine on a grant process. I'm not sure, but it won't... I don't know how to answer that one. But what this is not going to be a cost to the City of Melville ratepayers. This is actually going to be an advocacy piece from the City of Melville to the floor of the National General Assembly. Walga already have a position on this as well in the advocacy portfolios that they have. And this is the City of Melville again getting on the floor and raising these from the floor to all local governments across Australia to call on ALGA to advocate for these outcomes. Maybe the CEO might have something to say.
Sorry, Councillor Wheatland, but I think in the officer advice, it actually says that the city will have to bear the cost of sending a representative. I think it's part
Just a moment. Mr. Tuffin, Acting CEO, has the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, that's correct. There would be costs associated with attending the conference in terms of registration, accommodation, airfares and meals.
My understanding is it's open to all elected members to attend. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Are there any further questions?
Mayor, can I just clarify that? So we've all got a budget, what's it called? A professional development allowance. And I've put a submission in to attend the Alga General Assembly.
Councillor York, is that a question or a debate?
It's a question. I'm just wondering whether it would actually go to a vote as to whether we would send someone to attend at the council's cost.
No, we don't have to go down that path. It's already in position. So no, there's no need to vote for that. Anybody, any councillor, any elected member is allowed to attend. Okay, Councillor.
I will speak
Councillor Ross. You wish to speak against it?
Yes,
First
please.
of all, Councillor Green, did I ask you, do you wish to speak now or did you reserve your right?
I think I've already reserved my right. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the reasons I've already outlined, which I think it's something that should come from Walga, it will actually have more weight coming from the representative of all the councils, and because it's not a cost that should be placed on the City of Melville ratepayers, whether everyone can go or only one person can go is not really the relevant issue. It's whether or not the benefits are going to be spread for all councils, and therefore all councils should contribute to it. So for those reasons, I would say that this is not something we should be supporting at this point in time, and we should instead make an approach to Walga to have them do that on behalf of everyone. So I ask you to vote against the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. A speaker for, or is there another speaker against? Any other speakers against, just so I can evaluate the numbers? Okay, Councillor Spanbrook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it'd be quite helpful if I make known, even though I do know elected members are aware of this, but just to reiterate that the sustainability and climate cost in 23-24 was over $2 million. Now, that's nearly 2 years ago, and it's also, there's full-time equivalent over 8+ staff. So therefore, for something like this, it will be a cost to us. It will be an added cost. And the city we are doing, like an extraordinary amount of work in this area. And when you're looking at the FOGO system, it has been well received within the City of Melville. I do know people who live further south and they don't have the FOGO system, and they really wish that they did. And I can't even think of I think it might be, I'm not sure if it's Coburn or further down. But, and in saying that, it appears to be a little bit of a repeat here, because we're already paying for the FOGO system, we're already paying, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like, for the waste and recovery, something like over $25 million. And these figures I'm referring to are in the 23-24 year. So I don't believe this will come without a cost. And I think we councillors do need to be aware of it, because this is ratepayers' money, that we are spending. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Green, do you wish to speak now?
Yes, I'll just speak briefly. I think the City of Melville has a strong history in this field, with being one of the first movers in Australia to adopt the FOGO system. getting on the front foot and advocating for these sorts of things. While it will be shared, I think it puts us in a good light with the Australian government when there's 200 million on offer. I think if we're going to be at the cutting edge of this, I think it can only be a good thing for the city, and therefore I recommend we vote for it.
Thank you. Councillor Wheatland, can you wrap up the debate, please?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I just want to talk about what ALGA actually is and the General Assembly is. It's got nothing to do with local FOGO here in our own local governments or in our previous regional councils, etc. This is about an advocacy piece. It's where councils collectively decide, together, at no cost to the ratepayers here in Melville, what the big issues are. They don't always get voted up. WALGA has a part to play with supporting or not supporting or recommending what motions West Australian local governments should support or not support based on their advocacy positions already that they have. WALGA does not have a part to play in moving motions from the floor at this forum. So councils also decide what ALGA, Australian Local Government Association, should lobby for with the Commonwealth Government and what reform or funding councils want. You know, we move the motions over there to get federal attention, to get the attention of the Commonwealth Government at no cost to our ratepayers.
Point of order there, Madam Mayor. I believe the acting CEO did mention earlier that there will be a cost. Is that correct? Can I just get clarification on that, please?
As a point of order.
Well, I think that's a clarification. He did say that every elected member could attend out of their professional development, and yes, that would come out of the budget.
I'm just referring to Councillor Wheatland's comment that it is at no cost. So, was that...
Are you
Councillor
moving
Wheatland,
a point of order? Are you interrupting my
I'm not
wrap-up?
sure. Anyway, let Councillor Wheatland finish her debate.
Thank you. Look, one council, collective bargaining, I'm not going to talk about collective bargaining in this room. An amplified voice in relation to many issues gets a really good result. So recently, ALGA moved a packaging product stewardship motion that was put on the table by the City of Melville 2 years ago. We moved it from the floor. I moved it. I think Madam Mayor seconded it. We moved a product stewardship motion on the floor. It was supported unanimously and it went through. Look, this is not as complicated as what it sounds. All the officer recommendation is asking is to support the two motions to take to the floor, the local government. Local governments across all over Western Australia go and do this. I urge you all to take the time to do it, but all I ask is that you support the officer recommendation so the City of Melville again can be leading the charge in Western Australia to secure a seat at the table for local government to deal with biosecurity issues like polyphagous shot-hole borer, and also to advocate and lobby for more money, more federal funding to help us implement FOGO and infrastructure needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We're now going to a vote. Green is to support the officer recommendation. Red is against. Thank you. It is carried 8-2. Moving on to item C26355, 2025 to 2026 mid-year budget review. This needs an absolute majority. Can I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Do I have a mover? Councillor Lim, and seconded. Councillor York. Thank you. Councillor Lim, can you please speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so I think just looking through all the review, it all seems quite, I guess, straightforward. There's obviously some, capital expenditure that probably the council doesn't have capacity to start as early as intended, but this is because obviously we're doing a lot, so naturally some would be delayed. Some of the budget review, like I guess the parking aspect of things, there's some I guess less revenue expected than as per normal, but there's overall I think there's sort of a higher revenue gain from other collection services due to higher governance and infringement steps in place. So yeah, to me, I think all seems pretty ordinary. So I won't speak too much about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lim. Councillor York, do you wish to speak now or later?
Not at all. No, thanks, Madam Mayor.
Okay, is there a speaker against? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to read out the financial implications that have been provided by the city. And it says, after taking into account the various positive and negative variances and reserve funds adjustments, the mid-year budget review has identified an overall balanced budget after reserve transfers. However, this is based on the accrual accounting concept and not necessarily reflective of the cash position. At the time of writing this report, the city had outstanding debtors of 36 million. The cash position of the city will continue to be monitored to ensure there's adequate cash flow to fund operations. Furthermore, it must be noted that a balanced budget has been achieved by a deviation from accounting policy CP 025, thereby placing requested interest earnings into reserves. While in the short term this approach presents as practical, a continuation of similar measures in the longer term is not financially sustainable and not recommended. A key focus of the current review of the long-term financial model is to ensure the city is operating in a sustainable manner over the long term. Now, the officer recommendation requests that the council notes and authorizes the deviation from the city's accounting policy CP 025. So it's going to be the council's responsibility to make that authorization and authorize that deviation. I suppose my first question would be, why didn't we look at some alternatives, and why are we doing something that's not financially sustainable and not recommended? I don't wish to sort of disrupt the whole process, but I would like to think that there might be some alternative measures that could be taken so that we're not deviating and we're not doing something that's not financially sustainable and not recommended. So if there is an alternative proposal to be had rather than approving this right now, I would like to hear that. But if not, I would ask that it goes to a vote, because it's not something I can, as an former accountant, support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Speaker 4, do we have another speaker against? If we don't...
Madam Mayor, could we perhaps have some commentary or response on what Councillor Ross raised from Mr Tuffin?
Mr Tuffin, could you respond, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So in regards to the deviation to CP 025, what's happened there is detailed in the report. As the policy currently provides 100% of interest earning on reserves is to be transferred back to reserves. In this instance, 89% was transferred back, and that was just done as a balancing mechanism. There were other options available. One would be just to look for other items of expenditure and reduce them. But in, I guess, the interests of time with the budget amendment process and the timeframes we were working to, it was just seen as an option to fill that gap. In relation to the comments about the $36 million, that's, I guess, just highlighting that the budget's based on a number of assumptions and that we will collect, say, 95% of outstanding debtors by the end of the year, but there's always a component that's out. So I think the contributor of the report was just making that point that accounting for local governments is done on an accrual basis, not cash. So, for example, if we raise an invoice, we receive that as income in our books, even though we may not have actually received the cash, and then it sits as a debtor until we do collect it. In terms of long-term financial sustainability, I believe those comments are in reference to the fact that it wouldn't be a best practice to continually divert reserve interest funds into other activities. If a reserve's been set up for a specific purpose, the interest most probably should be going back to that reserve fund. And so the officers were just being transparent and making it known to council that in this instance, the officers were recommending a slight deviation from the policy.
So just to follow up if I can, so using the interest to balance the budget, that's not something you'd normally do?
No, sorry, we do, but what we do is, like this year, there's a transfer out of around about 55 million and a transfer back in of 35. All we've done is reduce the amount being transferred into reserves.
And does that get balanced back at some point, or is it just $20 million
Yes, as the budget review has come back to a zero balanced budget. So in terms of the plus and minuses, the budget that council adopted at the start of the year, at the 1st of July, was a zero balanced budget. And with those amendments, with, as I say, the positive and negative variations, we've come back to a zero balanced budget. Sorry, so the net effect is what council adopted as its budget, that the net effect at the bottom is exactly the same. It's a balanced budget. At this point in time, it hasn't been balanced as a deficit budget or a surplus budget, a balanced budget.
Yeah, but sorry everyone, but you know how you said that there'd be 20 million less going into reserves? Is that what you said?
That's the net impact, because what we do each year is in this instance, in 25-26, there's transfers of approximately $35 million into reserves, but then transfer out of 55 million to pay for capital works. So there's a net reduction in our reserve holdings of 20 million, which is the difference between the 35 and 55. And so in this instance, all we've said is rather than be transferring 35 million, it might be 34 point something.
Okay, so that was happening anyway, what you said about...
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are there any further speakers against? All right, I'll go back to the mover and seconder. The seconder has indicated he doesn't wish to speak. So can the mover wrap up the debate, Councillor Lim?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So yeah, just to address some of the points. So from my understanding, the City of Melville is still undergoing accrual accounting. So then I don't think they're deviating to a cash accounting methodology. So I think the treatment is still pretty consistent. And in terms of dipping into your sort of the interest component of the reserve by, I guess, $500,000 in the grand scheme of things, it's not big, especially if you're dealing with like a balanced budget of like $0. There's bound to be ups and downs, and it's because we're also implementing digital strategy, and I think it's mentioned in the report that there's an increase in software costs that has to be paid up front. So those are sort of I guess unforeseen circumstances when we first planned the budget, and I think we probably weren't factoring in the digital strategy at the pace that intending to. So I think overall, there's not really much for concern, in my opinion. And yeah, like maybe the policy would need to be looked at in the future, potentially to ensure that this doesn't happen often, so that we can, I guess, accurately produce a balanced budget going forward. But yeah, I think there's no real cause for concern, so happy to endorse it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to the vote. So if you're in favour, you're voting green. If you're against, you're voting red. And that is carried 10-1. Thank you. Meeting on, next item is C26-359 RFT 252622, supply of tree maintenance. Absolute majority is required. Can I have a mover and seconder for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Robbins, seconded by Councillor Hong. Okay, Councillor Robbins.
I've got no comments unless there's any voice to the contrary.
Just wondered whether, why don't you ask if there's a voice to the contrary, Madam Mayor?
I can do that, yes. I thought she may have some remarks she might like to make. Clearly not. Is there any speaker against? Is there anyone against? If there's no one against, I declare that carried. Item E2687, adoption of new council policy CP 129, personal memorials in public open space. I need a mover and a seconder for the officer's recommendation. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Councillor Lim. And seconded. Do we have a seconder? It doesn't appear that we have a seconder.
Madam Mayor, what happens if we don't get a seconder and it lapses?
Well, it lapses and we go on to the alternative motion. Okay, so it appears that this will lapse through a lack of a seconder. So we're moving on to the Councillor Robbins alternative motion. Okay, so Councillor Robbins, do you wish to proceed with this alternative motion?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, do you have a seconder? Councillor York. Okay, Councillor Robbins, do you wish to open the debate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My alternate motion seeks support from my fellow councillors to amend the policy as prepared by officers, essentially to remove the reference to and therefore installation of the Remember Me benches or spaces. So the motion before you can see there's two parts. So the first one is to remove the reference to those benches or spaces, and the second part is just to remove the definition, which obviously if you're going to remove the reference to them, you'd remove the definition as well. So in practice, what does this mean? In practice, it means that we won't continue or we won't commit to the installation of the spaces in those four parks and reserves, but we will continue, or we will take on a new approach of not supporting personal memorials within the city. So up until now, residents have been able to call up the city, and as long as they're willing to pay for it, then my understanding is that the City of Melville will essentially install a park bench somewhere and allow a plaque to be placed on it so that loved ones can remember someone. So We've been presented with information in the report that that practice is no longer feasible, and the reason being that our parks and reserves are becoming saturated with these benches, and so the officers deemed that it's not practical for that process to continue. So my suggestion is that we go with the officer's recommendation that we won't install those personal memorials anymore, but we don't take on their recommendation of the Remember Me benches and spaces. My reasons for this alternate motion are that I think that there are plenty of places around the city of Melville, and not just in riverside locations, but across the city in some of our southern parts. There's also some beautiful spaces where people may wish to go to remember loved ones and to may perhaps grieve or just take some time to think about those that they've lost. I think there's beautiful spaces already that people can do that, and we don't necessarily need a bench or a man-made space to do that. Obviously, people are going through a difficult time when they've lost someone, and I don't want to be insensitive to that, but in my view, these Remember Me benches or spaces may or may not be well used. I'm sure some people think it's a good idea and would use one, but I think there'd also be a lot of people that wouldn't use it. And so, yeah, for me, just as like trying to be consistent with my usual position that we should save ratepayers' money where we can. My preference is that we keep the $160,000 in the bank and not progress with the benches. Thank you.
Councillor York, do you wish to speak now or later?
I'll speak now. Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so my main, well, there's a few issues I have with it, but I do take issue with the survey or research that was done to justify this. Less than 100 people responding, and it looks like it was presented to people without a clear option of doing nothing. And it certainly, options weren't presented as to the possible cost. Look, I consider it a state issue. We have cemeteries for this purpose, controlled by the Metropolitan Cemeteries Board. We have quite a large cemetery in our city. I just don't think it's a good use of funds. I mean, it started off as a nice idea, and obviously it's got out of control, but it's time to pull back. It's not a core function, and ratepayers' money should be spent on the living. Thanks.
Madam Mayor, I've got a question, if that's all right.
Councillor Barber.
So, Councillor Robbins, are you suggesting there is no policy, or that the policy will be that we just don't do anything? What is your recommendation?
The recommendation is as was circulated and as is on the screen, but I can read it out, that the council adopts the council policy CP 129, personal memorials in public open space, subject to the deletion of the struck out words, which are on the screen.
And the struck out words are saying that we're not going to have personal memorials anywhere in the city, is that correct?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to put a procedural motion, if I may.
What is your procedural motion?
To refer this issue back to the Policy and Legislation Committee so we can work on the policy.
We spent 2 years on this.
I want to refer it. It's a referral.
Pardon? Sorry, you want to just repeat that, please?
I'd like to refer this because I believe we need a policy and it should go back to the Policy and Legislation Committee.
Do you have a seconder? Yes, it has been around for 3 years. But do you have a seconder? Due to lack of a seconder, this procedural motion lapses. So we're back to the the alternative motion by Councillor Robbins. Is there a speaker against? Okay, I'll take Councillor Barber. Councillor Barber.
And if Councillor Lim goes.
Just Councillor Barber, if you go ahead, he'll have an opportunity.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'm very worried about this. I think we do need a policy. But policy with some words on that says something about listening to our ratepayers. And if I could just...
Can we have a point of order there? I mean, the policy will be we're not going to do it anymore. I mean, so that is a policy in itself.
Sorry, my apologies. Okay, I'd like to change the policy if I can, and I will vote against what the policy is recommended in this motion. 82% of respondents are happy with the scheme. I know it's not for everybody. I know there's people sitting around here tonight who think, oh, golly, you know, I'd never buy a bench, I'd never do a plaque. But for a lot of people in our community, and they're the living, they would like to do something. There was an opportunity in the survey for people to say that they didn't like this particular policy, and 18% were strongly opposed, which meant that 82% were for it in one way or the other. I believe it provides a win-win. I was not happy with the officer's recommendation because I agree that we didn't need to spend $160,000 on plaques in our parks. I agree with Councillor Robbins that there's cemeteries for those sorts of walls, and there's other places. I didn't think we needed to have a remembrance type park. But what I do think is that we can get our residents, if they wish to have a bench with a plaque on, then they can buy that, and then that is a win-win. It's a win-win for the city in that we get a fantastic bench, and it's a win for the person who would like to have some remembrance of a loved one. I believe the staff need a clear policy. I think there might have been some stress involved.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor.
The proposal is for a clear policy.
Okay. Pardon?
The proposal is for a clear policy.
Sorry, I retract, yep. Plaques were the most popular in the survey. 72% said they liked plaques and 62% said they liked benches. I think we need to just recognise, and I have had some residents contact me, that Melville have got the highest number of ageing population in Western Australia, in the city of Perth. And those people do want to sit down, whether it's at the beach or whether it's on Kitchener Road. The more benches we can provide for our ageing population, the better. And if the residents can pay for it themselves, then we just talked about budget amendments, then this is a win-win. Something that I'm really keen on is adding money to recoup for our ageing infrastructure. A classic example is the Applecross Boardwalk, which is a fantastic boardwalk that goes around the Majestic Point. The city has just spent $1.5 million doing up this boardwalk, a massive amount of money. And it made me think, I don't know whether anybody's ever walked from Middleton Beach in Albany around to the city of Albany, but that also is a fantastic boardwalk. And on the edge of those boardwalks in Albany, there's little plaques of Remember Me plaques. And I'm guessing that those Remember Me plaques have aided in the building of that boardwalk. So we talk about how we're looking for alternative revenue streams, and here's a win-win that we could potentially get our residents to put a little plaque on the Applecross Majestic Boardwalk. It makes them feel happy that they're doing a remembrance. They're helping the city recoup costs for building such wonderful infrastructure, and it's a win-win. So I think we do need a policy. I think I'm just putting suggestions. I'm no policy expert, which is why I think this should go back. The officer's recommendation lapsed. I think it should be re-looked at. The Applecross Boardwalk is opening in April. We can quickly get something up and running. If you want to streamline it, let's just have one thing. You put a plaque on the boardwalk. I'm throwing suggestions. I'm not a decision maker. What I am asking you to decide is to take this policy back to either an elected member engagement session, we can discuss it again, or the Policy and Legislation Committee. I think we do need a policy. I think we do need to listen to our residents, in particular our ageing population, and this is a win-win in terms of not spending money but getting our residents to pay for the remembrance infrastructure, which will benefit everybody. I look at bus stops. Not every bus stop has got a seat. There's places, yes, there's oversaturation in certain parks, but again, a clear policy will say, no, you can put your benches at this bus stop or this park where we need them, where we need these benches. We're in a hot climate. We need water stations. I believe there's enough creativity in our city offices to come up with something that'll really help our...
Can you wrap up your debate, please?
Happy to wrap up, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker for? Councillor York? You've already spoken, actually.
Well, it's actually
hang
a
on.
question to Councillor Barber. You quoted a figure of there was 82% of people in favour of doing something and 17% not doing something. Where's that found? I can't see that anywhere.
Found that in the snapshot of the respondents.
It's in the report.
Well, it's not there. I can't see it.
Okay. You're speaking for? Councillor Spanbrook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I don't wish to downplay the emotional, the emotional attachment that people do have to memorial benches. But I would like to point out, though, and there's a couple of things that Councillor Barber did raise, that first of all, the areas that are most preferred are all along the river. And that area, it's public space. So when you consider someone actually putting up a memorial plaque or a bench, well, there's a bit of ownership that's taken there of that, which I don't think that is actually fair at all. And it does actually privilege the ones who can clearly afford it. And if there was such a possibility that if someone wants to put up a plaque on a bench, shall I say, then I wonder if they would consider putting up, on a bench, a plaque on a bench at a bus stop on Farrington Road, Finlay, Parry Avenue. There's all over the city we have bus stops with just the pole indicating that it's a bus stop. But I fear that that'll probably have no one wanting to do that. The locations are all down by the river, and I think that it's only fair that that we actually, don't support this at all. Enough's enough. And even walking up and down there or jogging, as I have at times, there are a lot of them everywhere. And as a public space, I think enough. With 15 every year, when you think about 100, over 10 years, 150 benches, how many benches, do we need in one location? And that is just along the foreshore. So I do support Councillor Robbins in this. Thank you.
Councillor Lim, do you wish to speak against?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. So, yeah, I think just listening to everyone's, position on this, I'm thinking a memorial bench at Riverside is actually not an equal, commodity compared to, something at the cemetery. Because when I get the feeling of, remembering someone that has passed, generally happier memories happen just out of coincidence in Riverside, because you would think that, I had my first few, dates with my wife at River Place. I rarely have them at, a bus stop or at a cemetery. So generally, I think if you want to remember someone fondly or sort of in a state that's not, emotional state that's not sad, I think these Remember Me benches provide that sort of value. And it just so happened to be, I understand that it so happened to be at the Riverside locations, but that's generally, the majority of people, when they enjoy public amenity, they tend to favor towards Riverside. And I think, this is sort of I think what the officers have recommended is actually a really good thing, because there's been pretty much...
Councillor Lim, that's been defeated. It didn't get up because it had a lack of a seconder.
Oh, but I'm speaking against this one. So, because what they recommended about the 4 benches is a good idea because
carry on your debate.
yeah, so because since 2023, I think in June, there has been no, I guess, request accepted. So residents have been waiting for this. This is sort of a, once and for all. We built this memorial, Remember Me benches. I know they cost a lot, but a bench provides a level of service that, everyone gets to enjoy. Why I want the city to pay for it, because I don't think memorial should be a pay-to-play sort of system. Just because you have the money doesn't mean you get the opportunity to have a plaque or something to remember you by. It should actually be something that's available to everyone. There should be equality in people being able to access and remember their loved ones. It shouldn't be restricted by financial gains. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lim. Okay, are there any further speakers against? I just want to judge how many. Okay, so I will go back to Councillor Robbins to wrap up the debate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just touch on a few of the comments that have been made. The first one is in relation to the claim that elderly people do want to sit down, and I agree that I'm sure they do, and I think most of us like to sit down in our beautiful City of Melville parks and reserves. But I guess what was outlined in the report is that there's an oversupply of the benches, and that I can't get out of my head that image with, I think it was the red dots of all the benches at Bicton Quarantine Park. There's an oversupply, and so continuing to install more I don't think is feasible or viable. In terms of some other suggestions about putting plaques on the boardwalk, I'm not sure whether the suggestion was that we have a plaque for anyone who wants, or lots of plaques for people who want them, or whether we just have one plaque for everyone. But either way, I don't think it's very workable. You're either going to end up with an overload of plaques, or if it's just meant to be one plaque for lots of people to share, I can't imagine that being very popular. I just wanted to bring up the claim that was made that 82% of people are in favour of doing something, which was suggested that was in the engagement snapshot. I've just opened that again and I can't see it there. So unless I'm looking in the wrong place, I think that may be incorrect. So I guess I just want to flag that in case anyone sort of was making a decision based on that piece of data. Like Councillor York said earlier, there doesn't seem to have been given an option of let's do nothing. Like we can see the bar chart at the bottom, it's got plaques, memorial garden, Remember Me bench, augmented reality application, but there's no information there for let's do nothing. I appreciate Councillor Lim's comments about enjoyment of riverside locations, and I was very happy to hear about his first few dates that he had at riverside locations. But I guess I would just comment on that we don't need a bench or artwork or new artwork for people to enjoy those locations. There's plenty of benches along our foreshore and riverside locations. There's plenty of artwork as you walk along. I know the Esplanade in Mount Pleasant, there's plenty of artwork along there. So there's plenty of places already that people can reflect, grieve, think about their loved ones. So I don't think spending another $160,000 on 4 new pieces of art, essentially, is justified. And just to touch on the comment as well about it being unfair because, being unfair if it's pay to play, that's not going to be the case if my alternate motion is accepted, because it takes out the memorials altogether. So it's not just going to be for those who can afford it. Essentially, we won't be doing it at all anymore. And again, just to pick up on one of Councillor York's comments from earlier, the underlying reason I've moved this motion is because I just don't think it's the role of local government to be providing a service like this. So I encourage my fellow councillors to support my alternate recommendation. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I just clarify one point before we go to the vote in regards to the 18% and the 82%?
Yes.
I just clarified through the Director for Community Development, that the 18% figure was quoted in the report, and Mr. Coaten, Director Coaten might be able to clarify this, and that the 82% came off the other side of that. Is that right?
Mr. Coaten?
I'm not sure exactly where Councillor Barber got the figure from. I'm just trying to have a look in the report. Now, from memory, I think there was 18% who didn't want to do anything, so I'm not sure if that was where the 82% had come from.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to the vote. Green is to support the alternative motion from Councillor Robbins and red is against. It's carried 8-3. We're now moving on to the next item, which is E2688, RFT 252611, supply of plumbing services. We need an absolute majority. I need a mover and seconder. Who wishes to move this? Councillor Wheatland. Who wishes to second? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hong. 20 to 10. Yeah, thank you. Do you wish to speak to this item? Is there anyone against this item? If no one is against, I declare it carried. Next item is E2689 RFT 252617, supply of electrical maintenance services. We do need an absolute majority. I need a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wheatland, and seconded Councillor Hong. Do you wish to speak? No. Is there anyone against this item? If nobody is against, I declare it carried. UP 2699, review of the Burragoon Melville City Centre Structure Plan. Prior to tabling this item, I'd like to remind the Council of the officer advice note distributed on Friday the 13th of February as part of the agenda. Can I have a mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation?
Madam Mayor, may I move a deferral on this item, please?
We need to get it on the table first. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Green, and seconded Councillor Wheatland. We have a procedural motion from Councillor Spanbrook to defer this.
If I may defer this, the reason for that is because of Director Varellas's good news that he'll be taking leave. So therefore, I'd like for it to be returned once he actually returns back to the city, as so he can actually be here for us to. So yeah, I just think it'll be helpful if we can actually do that when he comes back. Thanks.
When are you thinking of deferring it to?
Can I just check with Director Varellas when he will return? Thank you.
Mr. Varellas, you're away for a period?
Through the chair, the timeframe's not yet been finalised. If I can advise that the city has a highly competent team of strategic planners that will be progressing this process that will take a significant amount of time. And with all due respect, I think that this process could commence and I'd be back and still able to oversee significant milestones and decision gates before they're presented to council, understanding the prerogative. But notwithstanding, I think that things could be run concurrently while I'm away.
Thank you, Director Varellas. I will withdraw that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spanbrook. So is there anyone against this motion, this recommendation? If there is nobody against the recommendation, I declare it carried. UP 26-100, Recruitment and Selection Report, City of Melville Design Review Group. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Councillor Robbins, and seconded Councillor Spanbrook. Do you wish to speak to this item, Councillor Robbins? No. Is there anyone against? Councillor Ross? Okay, so we've got a mover and seconder. The mover, do you wish to speak at this point?
Not at this stage, thank you.
No. The seconder, do you wish to speak at this point? No. Councillor Ross, do you wish to speak against?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just looking at the recommendations that have been made, it appears that we're just re-employing the same people as before, and we've already seen what they can deliver. All of them have been on the panel. Almost all of them have been on the panel. Some of them have been on the DAP panel as well. So
excuse me, that's,
that's not confidential, is it?
yeah, look, it's considered to be confidential who's been on the panel and who hasn't.
Okay, I'm not going to mention names.
Oh, I understand that, but I think mentioning those sort of things.
My point is that we seem to be just re-employing the same people who've been there before, and we've already seen what they've delivered so far, and I think the community are pretty sick and tired of the sort of service that has been provided. So I think there needs to be a review, a greater review of what's being proposed. So perhaps maybe I could move a deferral motion on this item and let it come back to council at a later stage.
It appears that you need to give a date. Yeah, the difficulty, of course, is the deferral will just bring the same report back. So exactly this same report will be just lifted up and put into the date that you choose.
Well,
is that what you wish to happen?
Well, in that case, look, all I can say is that I think we should, in that case, reject the recommendation and have it then come back as a new recommendation that's brought before NEMIS and properly discussed before it comes back again.
Madam Mayor, is there something called a referral motion where it can be referred back to a committee for discussion?
Only if it goes to a committee.
Madam Mayor, can I exercise my right to speak?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Just listening to Councillor Ross just then, I just want to speak about the presentations that we had, and I can't think for the life of me the gentleman's name. He was actually a part of the design review panel, but this was from the state. And not only that, even when we have had in the past presentation by, I think is it Ray Herron? Ray Herron. He's actually done a presentation here when we spoke about the Murdoch and Bull Creek train stations. He also had some input into something similar to this. So what Councillor Ross is raising, like I said, is relevant, but the gentleman that was on the design review panel from the state government, he did actually say how they have a pool of something like 50 or 60 people to pull from, but then when it actually comes down to like we say JDAP as an example, there's only a pool, or even, sorry, I should say the design review of a specific development, that there's only 5 or 6 that make a determination. Do you recall anything like that, Acting CEO, with that? So what I'm saying, is there any point to, to refusing this because there's the same people anyway?
That, in fact, is a decision of the council, so Mr Tuffin is really not able to advise you.
Okay, so, well, my question is, perhaps to an officer, that if we did object to this, then how will it change? How can it change if it's the same people? That's what I'm wanting to know.
I'm not certain. Mr Rose, would you be able to respond to that?
Through the chair, thank you for your query, Councillor Spranbrook. The city advertised for interest in members for the design review group. While I note that there are some members from the existing panel, there are new members that have proposed, and some of those members are residents of the city as outlined in the report, and they're new members. They're not necessarily drawn from the state design review panel. Mind you, some of the members are also on the state design review panel, but the candidate pool that the city has managed to obtain interest from is outlined in the report. Their status in terms of their profession and whether they're city residents, and some of them are on the existing panel, as I mentioned, but there are new members there too.
All right, thank you. I think that we're ready to have it wrapped up by Councillor Robbins.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I might just read out a couple of sentences from the report that says the City of Melville may terminate the appointment of any member of the pool prior to the expiry of the term of office if it is considered that the member is not providing a positive contribution to the intended function of the MDRG, if the member has not demonstrated a satisfactory level of attendance at meetings, or where there's a breach of the code of conduct or other legislative requirements. So I just would note to other councillors that if we are dissatisfied with the performance of a particular member, we do have the option to terminate them from the panel, or from the, what's it called, group. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the vote then. Oh, it's wrapped up, yes. We're going to the vote. So green is to support the officer recommendation and red is to refuse it. That is carried 9-2. UP 26101, proposed scheme amendment, public open space to residential R60. This is Worley Street, Willagee. Prior to tabling the officer recommendation, I advise that an amendment has been received from Councillor Wheatland and that an advice note in relation to this was circulated with the amendment in agenda distribution Friday, 13th of February. Prior to considering the amendment, can I have a mover and seconder of the officer recommendation? Councillor Green and Councillor Spanbrook. Okay, Councillor Wheatland.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Woodall was going to second it, but he's not here.
A seconder? Would there be a seconder available for Councillor Wheatland's motion? It has been. Thank you, Councillor Barber.
Thanks, Councillor Barber. Thank you. Look, this amendment doesn't seek to block the scheme amendment at all. Previously in 2021, Council resolved to dispose of a portion of this land, and what before us tonight to use as an access way, which they accessed. They had an easement on that portion of land during the redevelopment of Altura Living when they built the apartments there and the gym and the pool, etc. So this rezoning right now flows from that disposal of that land. The decision we made in 2021 was to grant them access to the easement, and then they applied to DPLH or the government, state government, to buy it, and that was approved. So as part of that, now this needs to be rezoned from public open space to R60. So what I want to achieve through this amendment is what we spoke about back in 2021, is to make sure that we get appropriate environmental and public realm outcomes for the community, which was discussed in 2021 when this item came to council. The officer advice note I acknowledge, and all the constraints, statutory constraints that were outlined within it. The scheme amendment can't be conditionally approved in the same way a development application can. The regs don't provide for that. This amendment does not attempt to impose an unlawful condition. It doesn't reclassify the amendment. It doesn't trigger advertising. It doesn't introduce a 6-month delay. It doesn't change the ultimate zoning outcome. What it is doing is to, prior to finalisation of the scheme amendment, that the applicant provide a landscape master plan to guide future subdivision and development over the land. In 2021, I was clear in my position that if any portion of public open space was to be disposed of, the interface with Winnicott Reserve needed to give back to the community. That meant green outcomes, it meant meaningful landscaping and improved public realm along the reserve edge. The Winnicott Reserve is home to a local football club. At the time of this, there was a baseball, the Braves Baseball Club was there, and I'm not sure of the clubs that are there now. I think there's new clubs that have moved in. But the principle at the time was really clear. If the public land transitions to private development, the community in that area, or that use that area as well, not just from Willagee, needs to see an uplift in environmental quality and the interface treatment, not simply a net reduction in public open space. That was my position back then, and it still is today. I'm not revisiting that decision to dispose of the land at all, not at all, because that decision's been made. What I want to do tonight is finalise that mechanism that implements it. It simply ensures that the environmental and interface expectations discussed at the time are embedded before it's completed. Look, the landscape master plan, I won't go into. We'll talk about recently there were mature trees removed from the edge of the property, and the landowner has the right to remove whatever trees they want to on their private land, because there's no policy to address that. But I think what I want to do is make sure that in the future they are going to stick by their not their word, the agreement that we came to in 2021. So I'll come back to the interface between the accessway land and the adjoining reserve. There is a footpath, temporary footpath that runs along the perimeter of the temporary access that it was. That needs to be looked at. The quality of the condition between the private development and the public reserve will always shape that amenity of that space. I don't know how many of you have been to Winnicott Reserve. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And this is a chance with this amendment to make sure that the landowner sticks to what they say that they were going to do. And it just makes the expectation of council and that decision back in 2021 and what we can do right now for the people in that community really clear. Recognised on multiple occasions, I'm running out of time, let me go through there. All right, this, again, I will wrap up with this last statement. It doesn't reverse the disposal of the land. It does not reinstate the public open space. It doesn't prevent the purpose of this rezoning access. It doesn't delay the amendment. It just requests that before we finalise this rezoning that we land a structured and professionally prepared landscape framework that will inform future planning decisions. That's proportionate and reasonable. Look.
Can you wrap up your debate, please?
Yeah. I'm just trying to work out how to say this. Look, this council's being asked to convert this public land to residential zoning with this amendment still. And this amendment is consistent with the position I articulated and fought for back in 2021 and that the council agreed to. It's consistent with our commitments on canopy and urban heat, and it's consistent with community expectations. So I ask that you please support this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatland. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak now or later?
I'll speak now. I just am happy to second this amendment by Councillor Wheatland. The removal of the mature trees from that easement was very disappointing and quite shocking to the community. And so I think requesting this landscape master plan is a really good initiative. and I hope the owners take it on board. It'll certainly improve the amenity of the area for the community, and hopefully it'll provide a very positive environmental impact to the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barber. Is there a speaker against? Is there anyone opposed? If there is no one opposed, I declare this carried. Now we're back to the substantive motion. Councillor Spanbrook and Councillor Green, if you wish to speak, let me know. Otherwise, is there anyone against this recommendation with amendments? The substantive recommendation with amendments. If there is no one against, I declare it carried. Moving on to item 15, motions with previous notice. There are no motions with notice for this evening. 16, motions without previous notice. There are no motions without previous notice for this evening. 17, matters for which the meeting was closed to the public. There were no matters for which the meeting was closed to the public for this evening. 18, decisions made while the meeting was closed to the public. No decisions were made while the meeting was closed to the public. And now we come to 19, closure. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 9:57. Thank you very much for your attendance.